With MakingStarWars.net.
Yeah, this my own thing doesn't want to add me to the show. The computers are turning against me because before we started the show just now we were talking about AI, and in that conversation the machines are rising.
Hey, Jason. Just one more thing, and I'll shut up.
Already?
Huh? What?
Oh
What?
no.
What? I'm just gonna talk for 5 minutes, and then I won't say anything for the next year. I promise.
Don't believe him. And we got Best been bullshitting with us. Best been bullshitting. That should be your other podcast.
Well, that should have been the podcast name. Nobody will search the name Bob the Podcast, will they? Like,
No.
I didn't set myself up for success, you know?
Yeah, it sounds like Uncle Bob. Like Uncle Bob.
Yeah.
But
The podcast is about Bob Iger, you know, and his
Bob
day-to-day
Iger.
life.
Yeah. Bob Iger, CEO, the man, the legend, the overpaid guy who all the writers are fucking pissed at right now because he makes so much money, which is I've liked seeing that though. I hope we keep pushing on that, like even beyond the writer's strike. I hope that just makes it more popular. You know, like who needs to make
Especially when you look at like
$30 million
somebody,
plus dollars? You know,
something like Zaslav last year that like canned so many like projects like for tax write-offs and cut creatives off from their royalties that they deserve, from their products being on his streaming service and his platform, and then gives himself a massive, bonus, like tens of $1 millions in bonuses when he's trying to save the studio money.
I thought you said
like,
massive boners. Sorry.
No. That man
like, he gave
does not
himself
give
a what?
anybody. That man doesn't give anybody bonus.
I'm not gonna lie though. If I got like $30 million, I would probably have a massive boner over that too. So fair enough, Bob Iger and your weird boner. Yeah. So obviously there's like we've been talking about like the writer's strike like the last couple of days and all that kind of stuff, but I don't think we really have anything on that to talk about today. Thankfully, kind of a little bit of a break from it overall, but.
It's underway. Like, that's the biggest thing. They're all kicked off yesterday. The strike. So
yeah, the writer's strike is on, and nobody can write anything. Nobody will be writing anything, and what we've talked about on the show before seems to have kind of been on point. The research that we did before and the stuff that we talked about. Oh, thanks for becoming a channel member, Miss Susie Satan. Thank you. Anyways, there was this article that came out a couple of days ago, and Bespin was the one who told me about it. I wasn't paying attention, like always. And Pedro Pascal joins Ridley Scott's Gladiator sequel at Paramount. And we don't really need to go into the fine details of the article itself. But, I mean, it's pretty telling when we've had Pedro Pascal in The Mandalorian Season 3, and we never saw his face. And you said, and I've said, and you I think have said more than me, like, no one ever really said he was there for Season 3.
Yeah, throughout all of Season 3, like, I was getting monthly updates from, like, sources, and they were like, yeah, he's still not here. And then I knew that in his schedule, he had a break in Last of Us from December to March. So December 2021 to March 2022. And so they filmed The Last of Us in Canada, and he was back in LA like during this time. And he'd never like showed up to film anything even during that period, which surprised me because I thought like, oh, maybe they scheduled that because, he's got a 3-month break. If they're going to do anything with him, it'll be then. And there was comments from Giancarlo, I think, months before, where they said like Pedro's not going to be there because of Last of Us. He said, yeah, he would have worked something out with the studio and with John and Dave. The thing he worked out was, yeah, I don't need to be there, and they worked around that. And yeah, that seems to be going forward as well.
And same thing during production of Mando 3. I asked, so did you ever see Pedro? Did you ever work with Pedro? So on. And I did not have a positive hit that he was there, like from my
Even
end
for
of things.
reshoots.
Even for principal, for 3 rounds of reshoots, I think
Mhm.
nothing. And it was during the reshoots that I was thinking, because of Last of Us, and everyone should know, Bestman like is a big Last of Us fan. Like the game, it's like probably your favorite game series.
Yeah, the first one. Yeah.
Yeah, or yeah, okay. And so like I remember you were like following it really. You were following the production of that really closely. So like you kind of knew where he was for most of that. I felt like when we would talk, and then so I'm talking to people, you're talking to people, and no one ever hears anything,
Mhm.
or never gives us a positive thing that's saying that he's there. And everyone else, I got like these little tidbits or stories of, you know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah.
Grief Karga's farting around or something. Nothing about Pedro, nothing at all. And then the season comes out, we don't see his face, obviously. Now, the big question I kind of have is like does it matter? And I'm kind of the opinion that it kind of does matter. I kind of think that when you don't see his face for a long time, I feel like the character loses a little bit of the humanity, and I think that it doesn't, just once in the season helps, just once, you know what I mean?
If
Like we didn't see him a lot in the other ones, but like in season 2, we at least had like an episode with his mask off and he's doing things. You know what I mean? There's ways of getting it in there, and I'm of the opinion, and well, an informed opinion, that in that final sequence in the 3rd season, he was supposed to have his mask off, and he was supposed to, be baptized the second time at the end in the Lake Minnetonka down there, and then he was gonna, put the mask back on and then go about being his little culty weird self. And then you could see the water on the helmet because they put, why would they put water on it? Is it fucking, they got a leak up there? No one else is getting leaked on. And so it kind of, I think that's very big sign that they shot it that way so that they could do the insert if they had him for the reshoot, and then they just said fuck it.
Yeah, because even during the reshoot time, the only people I heard was involved was Katie and Giancarlo. Like in the summer reshoots, I heard those two names.
Right.
But Pedro, even during the summer reshoots, he was busy filming a movie with Ethan Hawke. So like he wasn't even available for the reshoots. So
Right.
like his schedule just all the time at the moment is just packed. Like,
Yeah.
and that obviously leads into like season 4 now. You know,
Right.
without you bringing up the Gladiator sequel, and obviously he's going to be doing a second season of The Last of Us. So
Yeah. So we have the, and the little bit of wiggle room here is we don't know specifically what the parameters of the role on the new Gladiator film are. At least from what I saw in the trades. I don't know if something came out this morning, but what was in the trades like yesterday said they kind of don't know. But when you
mhm.
have just generally what the man's doing on his docket, along with Gladiator and that, and then Mandalorian season 4, if all goes to plan, is supposed to begin, probably building sets around September and filming in like October. I'd say like,
Grogu,
what's that?
do you like movies about gladiators?
Yeah.
Huh? Huh?
Huh? I know. I like when you make that joke today. Some fucking idiot who's like fucking 19 on Twitter will be like, "You're a groomer." It's like it's a fucking quote from an airplane. Anyways, yeah. So I
My
don't.
cat's a groomer, so you know.
Your cat
Licks
goes to the
himself all
groomer.
fucking day. Cat just won't stop.
No, but we probably, yeah. So if you were hoping for there to be a more intimate sort of Mando moments in season
I want to see
4,
him and Bo kiss helmet to helmet, like
yeah,
dunk.
clunk,
Like they just
clunk.
clunk clunk, and they just smoochy, facey, just helmet only.
Well, you
Like
know,
like
you know how they were doing the bracers at the end, like the clanking of the bracers to like at the in the end ceremony. Maybe they just like clonk heads and like, oh my
well,
god, you're so getting me off right now. I need it bad.
it's literally the scene from Spaceballs when Princess Vespa's kissing Lord Helmet and the doll. He's got the doll. She's like, your helmet
Yeah.
is so bijou.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we're there.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna go. I would really bet against it, but maybe, just maybe, by the smallest chance, they're like, yeah, we do need your face, and they work out when they shoot that. In
Yeah,
his
because
schedule.
the Gladiator sequel that's going to film throughout the summer, so we don't know how long the shoot is, but it seems to be that it'll shoot either in July or June.
Mhm.
So there's that shoot, and then it'll run straight into The Last of Us for him, which apparently begins filming in November. Once again in Canada, I believe, and it'll be a similar amount of time to the first season, which took 11 months, meaning that Pedro won't be free between November and October of this year and next.
It's okay, Bespin. It's okay. We just gonna deep fake him. I love some deep faking. We're just gonna put his face on it. We're gonna get that little dude from that 70s show, Voldemort. We're gonna just wheel him out and deep.
Voldemort.
Yeah. Well, you know his name. I don't really follow. I just like to stare at him. You know what I'm saying? So we can just deep fake him, Bespin. We got the tools and the toys.
You're gonna do an AI deep faked Pedro Pascal?
No, I'm just gonna draw right over the film. I can animate. I can draw like Nickelodeon.
You can
Just gonna
draw.
draw him. It's not hard. I got MS Paint, and I got a lot of free time in between now and that next movie. It's only gonna take me like 2 months to make it, so I got nothing else to do really. So.
Is it weird that sometimes I kind of miss MS Paint? Like it's kind of fun. Like every now and then, kind of.
It's never left you, Jason. You left it. I gotta go back.
I need some Windows 95 MS Paint right now. I could definitely do some Mando 4 concept art. But
I tell you about the argument I got into my wife a couple months ago. I was looking at YouTube videos of malls, right? Like old mall footage. Because that's what I do when I get nostalgic.
Like Ray Park?
No, yeah, his dick. No, shopping malls. And she's like, oh, this is 1998. And I'm like, it's not 1998. She's like, why? I'm like, because they're selling Windows 95 in the store window. And she's like, well, I'm like, no, there was Windows 98 in 98.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I one time walked into a gas station parking lot and a guy goes, hey, you want to buy Windows Millennium Edition? I'll give it to you for $5. And I was like, it was sealed. I looked at it. I shook it. I'm all, can we open it if it's in there? If the disc is in there? And like, yeah, I'll give it to you. So we opened it up and it's in there. So I gave him $5. And I had a Windows Millennium Edition, like right when it came out. I guess he probably just stole it or something. I don't know. I went home and installed it, and worst mistake of my life. I hate that, man. That was
when you said this guy approached her at the gas station, I thought you say when you say, "Hey, do you want to see?" I thought you said, "Hey, do you want to see my dick?" I thought that's where that was going. Like, no. He didn't show you his dick.
I had a lot of adventures in that gas station parking lot, though. I would walk through
Nice.
there sometimes, and there was this lady, and she was insane, and she would say that like Jesus told her to give me money, and she would give me like $20, like all the time. She'd be like,
That's why you get certain
$10.
super chats, Jason.
that's the old version of super chats.
Those 90s homeless people had it backwards. I mean,
Well, she had a car. She was just crazy. I don't know. I was like, thanks,
right.
thanks, Big J. You know. But yeah. But I mean, I'll be honest with you. Jesus isn't doing that anymore. He's not doing it anymore. He's not telling them. He's not saying.
He's too busy selling crypto.
But yeah. So I mean, it like we're gonna have some more articles today about filmmakers and people in Star Wars. Like, I just wish they could lock. Like, it's great that they got Pedro Pascal before he blew up. That they had the foresight to know that this guy is like very talented. He's got it. You know what I mean? He's got that. We don't know what it is, but he's got it. And like they get him early. They fucking got him, but they don't got him. They got him, but they don't got him. Like they
I'm
need
gonna
to lock
say
these
something.
people down. Lock them down.
I have very,
you know? Put
I
a
have
ring on
very
the
little
finger.
faith. I have very little faith in the general public, Jason. All right. So I'm just gonna put it out there.
You cynical about people? No, Rob.
I'm just gonna put it out there that if they just for an episode switch Pedro Pascal with Andor, I don't think any of the general fucking audience would know that. I'm just telling you right now, man. Like I used to go to these open houses right at school, and I'd bring my dad, and my dad would switch with another Mexican, and no one could fucking tell it was my dad.
Okay, okay. This is a really stupid and embarrassingly stupid, but and it's not because I'm a racist. So shut up. But when I was watching Narcos, one of my kids is like, "Want me to put your show on?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "What are you watching?" I'm watching Narcos, and like he was like, learn how to search and stuff. And he goes, and there's the one with the ones with Diego, and then there's some of the ones with Pedro, and put on and it took me a minute, and I was because they were both in Star Wars, I was like, man, they look so different when I don't see them in Star Wars. I'm like, wait a minute, it's the wrong show. It's the wrong show with the wrong guy. So, yeah.
I mean, look, I like Pedro a lot. I don't. How do I say this? I mean, when you got a lead character, you're never gonna see his face, and then they go, well, we came up with an excuse because he's never taken his helmet off. It's like, what other series would be able to? Could you imagine an Iron Man series where you never see the dude in the Iron Man outfit because he made a vow to the Avengers to never take his fucking helmet off? Like, only Star Wars can you get away with this bullshit. Like, meanwhile, every other Mando around him has their fucking helmet off. Like Bo-Katan has got her helmet, even when she didn't have to. No, she's taking it off.
Yeah,
like it's just ridiculous.
Yeah,
but it's just again, it's I think it's just them being idiots as always. Like, why didn't you sign up to a first priority contract? Like that's what Warner Brothers did. Like as soon as they delayed the production of Mando season 3 and he had the gap, that's how he could do Last of Us. And they said, right, this is first priority. And that's in his contract for this one. Like it was for a multi-season show. So even if they try to negotiate to get him back, they can't because he's already locked down to it. Like it is really stupid.
Is it just to save money up front, hoping that the person doesn't become a big thing, and then
they did.
Like,
well, they didn't even do it with Patty, right? Like they did. Like they signed Patty with the possibility that she could end up going away to do Wonder Woman 3 if Warner Brothers decided to push her up.
Yeah.
And even if you look at like a show like Ted Lasso, like their stars in their contract, first priority is Ted Lasso. Like even though that production of season 3 was delayed multiple times and like went on for far longer than it should have, they had to leave and cancel projects that they're a part of because of that like contract clause. And Lucasfilm should be doing this with their big stars, but they're not doing it. Like, and obviously season 2 was building up to Pedro and Din discovering what a Mandalorian is and what it means to be one. So it felt like season 3 and further on, like he could have the helmet off a lot more.
Yeah.
But then they're like, okay, we've lost him, so we do this. Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Bespin, Boba won't ever put his fucking helmet on. Like we can't get him to fucking put that. He's walking around a marked target with his helmet off in his shoulder in his hands, just walking down the street in god awful heat.
Last night, and I finally got to Boba in that video game, and Jedi Survivor, and I had way too much fun because he's like all serious. He's like, I'm Boba Fett, and then I'm jumping on him, like doing in camera mode, like pausing in camera mode, like squatting on his head and stuff. I spent like about 45 minutes doing it, and then I had to question what I was doing with my life again. But I don't really regret it.
At this point, we see more of Vader without a helmet than the Mandalorian. You think about that,
Well, and
even in the Kenobi series, like Vader. Hey, look, it's Vader proper, but we still saw his face,
But the thing is the role, the depth of it, what it requires. We actually don't need a Pedro Pascal level person for that role.
Here's the thing. I get what you're 100%. But here's what we're missing out. I get when he's out doing the job, he's bounty hunting. Fine, I get it. But what we're missing is him like at home with the kid or on his ship tinkering, and he can look. You know what I mean? And you can actually get him emoting to the fucking puppet, like building a relationship. It's hard to get a bond between a.
I'm going to translate it for what you're saying for the audience. So out of Rob speak, he's saying Grogu needs forehead kisses. Go ahead.
Yeah, like if you put me in a Boba Fett helmet, kissing my dog, it ain't the same.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Even that dog's alive. How about kissing my Cabbage Patch doll? That's more fucking like it. It's just as weird,
Yeah.
you know. You want to see that face.
Yeah.
You want to go, that man's an insane person who loves Cabbage Patch dolls, but I like him.
Yeah,
You-
no,
I would-
it's like, and I think that now that they're like, you know, apprentice and master. What I don't know, is he master? I don't know. That's weird. But you would think that
he
like,
adopted him. It's his son
yeah,
now.
yeah. Now that they're father and son, they could be a clause that you could take your helmet off around your son.
He should,
you know what I mean?
He
Around
should
your
walk
boy.
around that homestead with nothing on but the helmet. You know what I mean? In the morning, making eggs. You know?
He's got fucking.
He's got the apron on.
He's got like a Beskar Speedo, and he's just like frying up some fucking eggs. He's like, "You want cheese?"
We actually see he's the one with the Mythosaur tramp stamp. You know, we could see it. Like,
Remember her chastity belt and Robin Hood Men in Tights? Like that's like
Yeah.
Pedro's fucking Beskar underwear. I've decided.
yeah.
But,
So we talked about not needing an actor at the caliber of like Pedro, but like when you look at season 2 in the scenes he filmed with Bill Burr in that episode,
sure.
like he's fantastic in that. And then in the finale, when like I found it emotional because of his performance with Grogu. Grogu's only a puppet, but like it was his performance and his emoting that made it a powerful scene in saying goodbye. It wasn't the fact that Luke Skywalker showed up and he was going off with him. It was Pedro. And now, like it's the same thing with Adam Driver. Like, you know, he's a fantastic actor. Like, and you just put him behind the mask and you lose a lot. And Ryan obviously had the foresight to like get rid of the mask and you know to show him his capabilities. And JJ decided to slap it back on for like most of the film. But yeah, I think it's a disappointment that Pedro isn't going to be in it as much. And it's not that I don't blame him. Like he's a working actor. He's probably getting paid more for Last of Us. He's doing more for his career probably than Mandalorian is as well. You know, people are getting to see just how talented he is as a performer. And
he's having a stake in eating it too. He's like in the show,
yeah.
but doesn't have to really do that much. But show up and go like,
yeah,
bye, and then he's done.
But I wish that you know that they even if they just had the foresight, be like, okay, well, we'll line up this schedule. He's on break. We'll do what we need to do in those 3 months. We'll do what we need to do in reshoot periods. And they didn't. They just took the easy way out and like, okay, well, he's stuck officially forever with this cult. This is what it is. We've future-proofed ourselves. So if we do ever see his face, it could be in that movie or something because we're not going to see it over the next few years, at least.
I think Bestman's volume might be a little loud.
I just turned him down a bit. Yeah, I turned him up the other day when it was too low, so and then it stuck. Anyways, yeah, no, you make a good point. Like, see, like the Bill Burr episode that you brought up. Like, I wish that was the average Mando episode. Like for me, I don't know if it would be as popular. Probably would, but it's not what the average episode is. That's like the one-off, and that's where he elevated it. Like clearly, you know, his performance, I think, set Bill Burr up for you know, success, and they both did a great job. But the problem is, like when I look at like the last season of the show, we didn't have those moments, and we didn't have them probably because of what you're bringing up. Season 3 didn't have those moments because he wasn't really in it. And then they
rewrote it because he wasn't going to be in it.
Yeah, and then they don't write it like for that, and so it's
here's
like
what's weird. Here's what's weird though. They could go, well, he took a vow, Rob, can't take it off. I'm like, all right, but when you're in hyperspace, you can take your fucking helmet off and breathe a little, right? Like,
yeah,
like when you're in your own ship by yourself and your kid who's already seen your face, so we're way past that fucking thing. And you're in hyperspace, wouldn't you take your helmet off just to fucking let your hair breathe and shit? Like, just. That's just what I'm saying. Like, well, Rob, it's Star Wars. You're thinking about it too. People don't even bathe in Star Wars. They don't even wipe their own ass. Like, yeah, I get you. A wonderful, wonderful trilogy of films here. There's just stuff like that.
Yeah.
When
I don't watch
when
Star
you have
Wars to watch people shit and eat. You know what I mean? Like, so that's fine.
Well, we got a toilet in the Razor Crest, so I thought it was set up that we were gonna get to see that, Jason.
I'm Fallen Order. Survivor, sorry. We got a toilet in Survivor.
We do. But it's like, yeah. I mean, what I'm trying to say though is that like for the parameters of the role, like its intensity, let's say on a scale of 1 to 100, it probably peaks at like a 65, and they got an actor that can do 90, and it's like they kind of they overshoot, and then they don't get them locked down. And it's the same thing that they kind of sometimes with some of the filmmakers, but more like the rock star ones. It's like the same kind of thing. And I don't know I don't know if it's because, I mean, we've been so focused on like the Directors Guild and the Writers Guild and stuff like that. I don't know if, like, in terms of like SAG and stuff, if there's like rules that you keep to what you can do to the directors and to the actors. But it does seem like there are things you can do, because you just mentioned like Apple. They got that first priority with the Ted Lasso cast. But then again, the Ted Lasso people probably aren't repped by like CAA or something like that, like some huge people at first. Anyways, I know like Jason Sudeikis probably was from the start, but I don't know about like the rest of that cast. And
Well, the only thing you can't do, Jason, is you can't tickle him in meetings. I tried that. You know what I'm saying?
right.
They gave me time out. I had to stand in the corner. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
It's a
Tickle
damn
me,
shame.
Filoni. That never took off in office. Stupid. So dumb.
All right.
So dumb.
But you mentioned that like the Ted Lasso thing, but even
Yeah.
on top of that, like they got Pedro to a first priority clause in Last of Us,
Mm-hmm.
like,
What?
and he's repped by somebody like pretty big, right? Like
Well,
he's
what if
a
they
big
trade
big
off,
star.
Bespin?
Yeah,
What if in
actually,
one season of The Last of Us he has to wear a helmet, and you
Mhm.
know what I mean? And then they have to flip, like it's Mando helmet, Last of Us helmet, Mando helmet.
Mhm.
You know?
I'm down.
when he when I put the story out that Pedro was the Mandalorian, I think it was CA. I think it was them back then.
Mhm.
And like they said, they were telling all of the film bloggers it wasn't true. And then and then I was like, oh man, I guess it's wrong, you know. And then it was obviously true. But yeah, so he like before Mando was set up to be very successful. Like he had a lot of power behind him. Like they were ready to get into the Pedro Pascal business at that point. I think it's because of his and I don't even know if he was, I don't know if he was with them during Game of Thrones, but you know, like when you rewatch Game of Thrones today, you're like, oh man, they shouldn't have killed that guy so quick. Like he was more charismatic than most of the cast. It's pretty, he
Mhm.
does like
Yeah.
shine in those episodes. And
And he can wield a dual saber, Jason. You know, like he can
yeah.
do all that. He can do all those moves. The fact that they haven't even given him a dual saber, I'm like, he knows how to do all the moves. Like, give him one of them things.
It was pretty good. But anyways, yeah. So I don't know. I'm my take on Mando 4 now is it's going to be more, probably it's going to seem like it's going to be intimate because they're going to go back to bounty hunting for probably, my prediction is they go back to bounty hunting for a very short time, hunting Imperials. The Thrawn returning events come in, and then now it's back to a macro story, and no Pedro probably. That's my prediction with how the forecast looks at the moment based off of the third season and the industry news around it. And it's still too early though to like know, like when season 4 gets going, like we will try and find out if Bestman, I'm sure I'm not to speak for you, but I'm going to assume you're going to be asking the same questions we were asking
Mhm.
last season. Is he
Yeah.
seen him? Showing up? And there was some like quotes from Katie Sackhoff saying, "Oh, he was around." It's not specific enough for me to go like, "Yeah, he was actually there."
For all we know, he might
What
have
if he was just
visited, like, but
Yeah, he was
he didn't
around.
perform.
Yeah,
What if he was just hiding under the craft service table? You know,
I
like
mean,
sneaking snacks and yeah,
it's
you
like
know, he
Pedro
didn't have to, but he
Pascal's.
likes to. He
He's
likes
all,
to sneak snacks. Yeah,
I wasn't this rich my whole life. I like to sneak snacks.
he likes to. He likes to really like wrap those cube sandwiches up into individual napkins and sneak them out. They let him have them, but he prefers to still sneak them out. Yeah, I think it's more Mascalorian now than Mandalorian, right? We should change the name to the Mascalorian. I like it. I like it.
So yesterday, they dropped the Fortnite May 4th stuff, and I'm broke. I'm a broke man. Not only in my heart, my mind, but my wallet, because it costs. It was. I spent like $100. I'm forever
Skins
sleep.
will be the death of you. Skins will be the death of you.
Yeah, no. Well, it was like, yeah. I mean, they put what did they put all in the end? Like this article doesn't have all of the details in it, right?
This no, no,
okay.
no, no, no.
I'm
This is
just gonna
from
use it
like
for
last.
yeah.
Yeah, this is from like last week. But when we thought there was going to only be two skins,
Yeah.
for a while we knew that it was going to be two male characters. One was codenamed Plot Twist, and the other was like Cirrus Vine or something. And one of them,
we looked into the to that so it's fine, and we like looked at it, and there were like prints, and it was like very like
Mole
frilly,
sort of esque.
like yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, that's probably Maul.
Yeah, so,
You
and then
know?
we knew there was a blaster coming, so we were like, is it a stormtrooper? We knew we were getting force powers this time around, which was for the first time we've never had it in Fortnite before.
Right.
So we thought maybe it's to line up with Jedi Survivor release, and maybe they're giving us Cal. But
Right.
they went full prequels and gave us Anakin, Padme, and two clone trooper variants. It was the 212th and the 501st that you could like purchase. Like with V-Bucks or like real money.
Right.
And then they also gave us a like a Star Wars Battle Pass, which had a bunch of free items, but also a bunch of premium items, which you had to upgrade to a new Battle Pass, a premium Battle Pass.
A pod racer.
We got a pod racer emote, which was cool, and you could upgrade and you could get a couple more clone trooper variants. You get the Wolfpack one, the Ahsoka trooper,
The blank one. Yeah.
the blank one, and then Maul is the one at the end. So you could buy that for 1,000 V-Bucks, which in my money is £6.50. I think it might be $7 for you or something. I think.
Yeah, it's about that. $7.50.
Yeah. So, and like with those ones, like you kind of feel like you have to buy them because they're not in the item shop. The item shop, like skins come back every now and again. They'll probably come for Christmas or something. But those ones, like it's exclusive to Battle Passes, once they're gone, they're gone. Like Mandalorian and Vader, you're never gonna get them again. Like
never gonna get them.
If you had them when they came out, then great. So you yesterday, you spent so much money, like, and you were planning to like gift things to like your son, like the premium pass, and like you couldn't do it. So you were like, right, I'm just gonna skip all these tiers and go straight to Maul. Like I'm not playing about it.
Yeah. So with your I bought. I gifted you one because I told you I would. So I gifted you the Anakin, and then my son wanted Anakin. Then I sent my son the clones because he wanted it. My daughter wanted Padme, and then I of course wanted them all, so I got them all. And then, when I did the math in my head, the Star Wars pass, I was like, oh, I will buy this many V-Bucks, and then that will cover me and my children. And then you can't gift the stupid Star Wars Battle Pass. You can gift the Battle Pass, but you can't gift the Star Wars one.
Mm-hmm.
And so then now I had to, go on their accounts and then buy it there for them. So I had all of these extra points, but I didn't understand how the Battle Pass worked at first, the Star Wars one. And I'm like, I think we have to like click to like buy our like items from it or something. And I didn't really realize what I was doing, and I was actually spending the V-Bucks on it for like a couple of tiers, and I was just like 3 tiers away from Maul. I was like, fuck it, I got this extra V-Bucks now, and I'm not going to probably want to buy us anything from them for like 6 months now, considering that all the Star Wars stuff came out today. So like Revenge Guy, I just bought Maul. I just bought it. Fuck it, got Maul now.
Because we ran into a Maul in one of our like matches, and we were so confused. We took pictures with him.
Yeah,
like,
I'm like, I think this guy's hacking. That's what I'm like. I think he's hacking.
Yeah, we took pictures of him playing Metallica. Like I think you're on guitar, he's on drums or something. But
I was Padme. My shirt was ripped.
Yeah. So we thought he was cheating, but no, he just bought his way to the top, which fair enough,
But as painful as it is, though, I think that they, 10 out of 10 for like what they did for this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, was it last year? There was just nothing. We were like, what the fuck? And then like this year, it's like they go beyond. You know, like you don't have to buy everything. Like, I didn't have to buy everything. I just wanted it.
Yeah.
But in the end, you know, but Revenge Guy brings up Grogu and Bo Katan, and it's like, you know, it's making a joke, but it's like a part of me is like floored by the fact that I believe that Grogu was created for Fortnite based off of the fucking like kit concept in it, and it was a way of getting him like into games where, you know, he's not big enough to be a playable character, like in a without making like new game mechanics and stuff. And then they go and then nothing at all. And I'm like, I don't know how far we get out until like the window closes, but it's like now that Grogu's out of the mech, the season's over, and it's like, you know, we've moved past it. I'm like, looks like they just kind of squandered the opportunity.
Well, yes, Grogu, there's Bo, and also there's Gideon with his new helmet, you know, that they didn't bother to do.
Now you're seeing things the way I see them, Jason.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
squandered opportunities is the number 2 priority at Lucasfilm to this day. Number 1 is being thrifty even when you don't have to.
Yeah.
You know, just keep treating it like it's 1975 and you're living off American graffiti money. You know, just always treat it that way, and claim to be the best ever. That's how you do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's
right. That's how you make a Willow series with licensed Metallica music. You know what I mean?
Hey. I don't mind it in Fortnite.
I
bought
paying
it.
that Jamie Horner fee. You know what I mean? We got a whole soundtrack here. We got a mixtape. Just put whatever's on. It's cool.
Yeah,
you know, it's cheap.
But and then Revenge Guy mentions Chewie with C-3PO back bling. They have stayed away from everything Empire Strikes Back, like the Han, Luke, and Leia. They did A New Hope and Return of the Jedi. So I got a feeling that they must have an Empire Strikes Back series sort of planned at some point. Like, I think they have to. And also a credit to Lucasfilm for letting them do it and Fortnite for doing it. They pretty much hit like a ton of checkboxes that people were asking for, like on Reddit and on Twitter and stuff like that, like between Anakin and Padme and the clones and all of that. So I would say after all of those, or in that mess, is Chewie with the 3PO back bling. So if they do it, then they are listening. You know?
Yeah, the event itself and the decisions they made for the Fortnite event has been really smart. Like the basic Stormtrooper is supposedly the best-selling Star Wars Fortnite skin, and so to bring in the Clone Trooper with a lot of variants, and to be fair, the Clone Troopers you can buy in the store, like they're pretty cheap. They're only 800 V-Bucks for 2 of them.
Yeah.
So, and then you can get like 1 for free in the Star Wars Battle Pass. You can get like 2 more in the premium one if you wanted. And like obviously Anakin's been the one they've been pushing the most and marketing the most. And given the age of Fortnite players, a lot of them probably did grow up with the prequels, probably do have a lot of love and respect for Anakin and the clones and Maul. So having all of those guys be in there, I think is the smartest move. I think it'll probably outsell even which was a good pack we had back in October or whatever, the original trilogy pack. This one, I think that this is the best event they've done. Like even when you take in with the Force powers and the quests we've all got at the moment, and you know, you are earning stuff, you are pushing it forward. You feel like you're trying to accomplish something, whether it's just to get that Maul ship at the end, which is what we get at the end of the quests, or if it's you're trying to
trader,
or if you're just trying to grind that battle pass and get Maul himself, and I think they've done a good job this time around. And yeah, we probably won't get Star Wars skins at least until Ahsoka, I think now. So I think we kind of have missed the train for Mecha Grogu and Gideon and Bo. I think that ship has sailed.
And we never, yeah, it's like I almost wonder at times if Mando being in that battle pass means they can't sell the titular character, so they kind of aren't really that into it maybe. So they keep going different ways where they can sell like a main hero instead, And we didn't get Andor. We didn't get like a Bo-Katan or IG-12 with Grogu and stuff like that. So but what they did was good. So I'm not knocking it. Like they went, like I said, beyond the Call of Duty here. but I'm hoping that there's something more in the future with some of those missed things. But something I keep seeing that I just wanted to hit on, because I know if Azatru's listening somewhere right now, I want Azatru to stand up and to start clapping, because I know he will. And it's that he says, Seth says, they gave people what they wanted in Battlefront. See, like in Battlefront though, whenever they would do a character, they had to get the voice actors in, or the voice actors, or the actors themselves. And then they also had to give them unique gameplay, like powers and stuff like that. So adding something into Battlefront was like a huge deal. And I've seen people going like, why couldn't Battlefront do what Fortnite does? Well, because Fortnite, just has to put the skin. That's it. There's nothing else to it. Like maybe an emote or something. That's it though. It doesn't have to go any deeper than that. And so I know Seth isn't saying that, but I'm like, come on guys, like it's not the same thing. But I've seen it like a ton, like in the last couple of days. But and then let's talk about the like Lindelof stuff like here, because we never did on the show, right?
Oh no, I want to talk about Fortnite skins for another hour, Jason. This is my favorite.
So we already.
Hey, just one more thing about Fortnite skins, Jason. I won't bring it up ever again, right? Just hold on.
This guy.
Why can't Santa just bring you some Fortnite skins? Why you got to spend 100? What kind of magical powers is this if he can't bring you digital? Is it because it's digital? He doesn't know how to work a computer yet. Is he not figured out? Is it because Republican Santas can't tech? Is that it?
I'm going to be honest with you right now, Rob, and everybody watching the show. Santa's not real. It's not real. that show, it's in your imagination.
You telling me he's a deep fake? This whole time? That's been Meg?
It's been Meg.
So when Meg comes up and she's a cartoon, that's just her doing her voice. But she's really Santa. Fuck, Jason.
Well, Meg only shows up as the cartoon, so that way she can operate the Santa puppet at the same time. Yeah.
Oh,
she's pretty talented. But anyways, we won't read this one because we did talk about Damon Lindelof revealing he was asked to leave the Star Wars movie, right?
No.
We never talked about this one. Okay.
No, that was all the same day, pretty much.
Okay, so this is from BestmanBulletin.com. And you could give Bespin a Ko-fi, a knockout, FI, coffee, ko-fi.com/BestmanBulletin if you're listening to this as a podcast. And that's how you could tip them. And you could also subscribe to you there, right? And be like, hey, I'm going to give them $5.
Yeah, not one single person has done that.
Not one, huh?
Not a single. You don't have to give 5. You can give 1. It does not matter. Like it comes up saying 5, but like you can.
I thought about it, Bespin. I thought about it. Does that count?
No.
I don't really want friends to do it anyway. Like
we're friends.
I hope so, but okay, break my heart.
I don't know. He turns on you so quickly, though. Right, Jason? You can never tell what Bespin. Like he might.
Don't turn on me. It's pretty nice to me. I don't know, man. I think
you buy him $700. Skins for like actors who.
To be fair though, yesterday he was Anakin, so I got on my Obi-Wan skin and I set him on fire a couple of times. So and I always had the high ground. It was good.
Mm-hmm. Our victory though was pretty classy.
Yeah. I know. He force pushed this guy out into the storm, and I just like walked up. I just ran up, and I just watched him go, bloop, and then we win. And I was like, hey, that's pretty good. All right. So Damon Lindelof. This is from BestmanBulletin.com. Back in March last year, news broke that Watchmen scribe Damon Lindelof had begun writing a mysterious Star Wars film for Lucasfilm and Disney. In the months that followed, the trades confirmed the rumors and added that Lindelof had constructed a writer's room, found a co-writer in Justin Britt Gibson, Into the Badlands, and a director in Charmin Obaid-Chinoy, Ms. Marvel. At the time, and by the way, you guys should watch our documentaries. That's where it's at. That's where you see the shots that will be in Star Wars, not in Ms. Marvel. At the time, and for a few later, there was growing momentum and confidence in the Lindelof project, which was set sometime after Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, and was set to feature an unknown character from the Star Wars sequel trilogy. However, a year later, Damon Lindelof and Britt Gibson exited the untitled Star Wars film they'd been developing for over a year. Lucasfilm quickly found a replacement writer in Peaky Blinders creator Stephen Knight, and the director of the project, Charmin Obaid-Chinoy, also stayed aboard. Reports at the time added that Lucasfilm and Lindelof parted ways after the lost writer handed in a draft of the script, which, according to Jeff Snyder of The Hot Mic, wasn't very good. Snyder added that Lindelof had clashed with the director of the movie, Charmin Obaid-Chinoy, throughout development, and that Lindelof wasn't even consulted by Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy regarding the director's hire, which also reportedly caused friction. Snyder added at the time that the clashes and the unsatisfactory draft is what led Lindelof to exit the project, claiming Kennedy and Lucasfilm could have worked on or through a disappointing script, but that Lucasfilm had no plans to.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah, well, if this stuff shit's true, they made the right call. The movie that we get into on the next story, the movie that Lindelof was working on was finally announced at this year's Star Wars Celebration by Kathleen Kennedy and Charmin Obaid-Chinoy. The duo revealed that the film is set 15 years after the events of The Rise of Skywalker and would follow Daisy Ridley's Rey Skywalker forming a new Jedi Order. In various interviews from the event, Kennedy also confirmed the involvement of Stephen Knight, but there was no mention of Damon Lindelof, who exited the project less than 2 months before the announcement of the flick. Lindelof and Lucasfilm had remained tight-lipped regarding the former's departure, even with Lindelof spending the last few weeks making his way around the press circuit to promote his new Peacock series, Ms. Davis. Lindelof recently called his Star Wars script a labor of love and wished the best to the film's director, Charmin Obaid-Chinoy, and those working on it. Today, however, Esquire got to speak with Damon Lindelof, who has finally shed some light on the departure from the Star Wars movie. In Esquire's report, they mentioned that Lindelof's script was rumored to feature an elderly Rey Skywalker training 2 Jedi Knights, one being Aquaman star Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, and which by the way, the Birth movie's death guy, he was saying someone else. Do you remember who it was, Bespin?
Yeah, he said it was Lakeith Stanfield, who
Okay.
is in Atlanta, and Haunted Mansion's coming up for Disney this summer.
Right.
And it was also one of the names that Jeff kind of speculated at the time
Yeah.
because of the actors. They were looking to cast in that age range between like 35 to like 39.
Mm-hmm.
It was Lakeith, it was Yahya, and it was Brian Tyree Henry. So
And that person got for the Force Awakens, they had the original opening with the hand. They had that correct for the record. So they're not somebody who I'm crazy about personally, but they also have had shit connected to the bad robot sphere, which Lindelof comes out of. So there's a possibility, there's a connection there. Just throwing that out there. All right. It's unclear if these rumors Esquire have heard or if they're informed of their own sources, but neither of those rumors online have come a source with a good reputation. Mateen
that was
too
at the time.
at the time of this article, yeah. So we'll I'm going to skip down a little bit here because we're going to get into that to the next article. When Damon Lindelof was asked if Esquire, if there was any truth to the rumors of him possibly joining the Star Wars universe, Lindelof responded, "I was in more than talks to join the Star Wars universe. I joined the Star Wars universe and was asked to leave." Lindelof laughs as he reveals his admission, confirming past reports that he didn't step away from the project but was asked to leave the production. However, Lindelof didn't spend any time discussing his departure in any real detail, nor did he share tidbits from his experience or what he had written. Damon Lindelof did follow up saying that he'd get back in line and try to get back in again someday, and added that if you don't succeed, you should try again. So and I think that it, if it's not some, I'm crying inside but I'm pretending like I'm there's a different situation. It does read sincere that he wants to like do something else with them in the future. So I don't think it was like it was cruel or that bad. I think they were just like, this is just not it. So anyways, and then Bespin says, I was greatly disappointed to see Lindelof exit the untitled Star Wars movie, as I'm a big fan of his work and would love to see him pen a Star Wars project in the future. I'm quite glad to see that the experience he has not tainted his love of the franchise, and that coming back to the galaxy far, far away is still a possibility in his mind. The untitled Star Wars movie directed by Sharmina Bay-Chinoy is expected to release on December 19th, 2025. And Lindelof's latest effort, Miss Davis, is currently streaming on The Cock. So if you have a subscription to The Cock, you can watch it. And then Bob the podcast is Bestman's podcast, and you could give him a coffee. Okay, so then we got this other article that follows up. Was this in the same day? Was this
It was the same day.
Same
Yeah.
day. Okay. Damon Lindelof's Star Wars script was reportedly set 60 years after the Rise of Skywalker. Featured an elderly Rey. He's like, "Excuse me, can you help me pick my Medicare Advantage plan?" Okay, and Damon Lindelof is like, "Yeah, I can do that." All right, so another week and another report from the hot mic regarding Star Wars. Earlier today, Damon Lindelof confirmed rumors that he was asked to leave the Star Wars film he'd been working on for over a year, following a couple of months of rumors. We first heard about Lindelof's departure last month from Jeff Snyder for Above the Line, and later the trades. But it was Jeff Snyder of the Hot Mic who reported that Lucasfilm were not very satisfied with the draft that Lindelof had submitted, and were not pleased about supposed friction between Lindelof and the film's director, Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, Ms. Marvel, and thus decided to part ways with Damon and hire Peaky Blinders creator Stephen Knight to write the next draft of the script. Today, the reporter who first broke Lindelof was writing a Star Wars movie, and who reported Lindelof had exited the Star Wars movie, Jeff Snyder, has now provided details on what Lindelof's script included and what the vision of the movie was ahead of his exit at Lucasfilm. The reporter took to his weekly podcast, The Hot Mic, to reveal that Lindelof's initial story would focus on an elderly Rey Skywalker 60 years after the events of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, and that Lucasfilm and Lindelof were supposedly looking at veteran actress Helen Mirren as a prototype for the elderly Rey. Snyder said the following: "From what I understand, it was 60 years after the Rise of Skywalker. Obviously, this changed a ton. Lindelof's was set 60 years down the line. But now we know that Daisy Ridley is coming back as Rey, so it's not going to be 60 years later. It'll be like 10 years later." What I heard was when it was that original idea, the original actor that had come attached, everybody thinks that was Yahya Abdul-Mateen too. It wasn't. And I actually got that confirmed recently. It was supposed to be an elderly Rey training two Jedi, a man and a woman. Both would have been people of color. Now they didn't go out to this actress, but she was the comp. She was not offered, but she was on the casting list as ideally who we want. But it doesn't mean the prototype person is the person for the older Rey. They were thinking of Helen Mirren. So, and I've seen people say like it was Helen Mirren, like that's become like a thing. And that's clearly not what Snyder is saying in his quote.
It's a bunch of smoke and mirrors, Jason.
But
You know what I mean?
Right.
Nice.
Yeah.
So it goes on to say, Bestman was on the right.
Mike Porter.
Snyder carried on the conversation with his co-host John Roca. He said that he believes Lucasfilm won't carry a whole lot over from Lindelof's draft, and reiterated that from what he had heard, the script was not good and below Lucasfilm's expectations despite liking Lindelof's initial pitch. John Roca chimed in and added that he had heard from his own sources over a week and a half ago that Lindelof's version of the New Jedi Order film featured an elderly Rey 2, which brought up a report from Roca last week where he revealed that he heard that John Boyega is returning as Finn in the upcoming movie. Snyder said that he had not heard that Finn would play a part in the new movie, with Snyder's sources claiming they hadn't heard of Boyega's involvement, but prefaced that due to big story changes, it's possible that now they're looking to get Boyega involved, with Roca adding he'd heard Daisy Ridley coming back was a last-minute thing ahead of Star Wars Celebration, where the film was formally announced. Lucasfilm officially announced the return of Daisy Ridley as Rey at Star Wars Celebration, which took place earlier this month. The film, which is being written by Stephen Knight and directed by Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, is set 15 years after the Rise of Skywalker and sees Rey attempting to form a new Jedi Order. The film does not have a release date, but Lucasfilm have an untitled Star Wars movie dated for December 19th, 2025. And then once again, you could follow Bespin on his
Well,
podcast.
Jason, this is one of those things where it's like, and everyone says, "Oh man, I got ideas." Everyone's got ideas. You can go in there and pitch an idea. I can say, "Oh, that'd be a good idea," but then you have to go and write the actual script or execute that idea.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just don't work out. I thought it was weird when we were first talking about Lindelof coming on board. Like, I thought he was really good as like a showrunner, where he had like a group of writers and he was steering them. Like, I thought that Watchmen show came along great in that way. And I thought for the Star Wars film would have been made more sense if he was producing.
Right.
Like him writing, I don't know, like that. I don't know, like I've never anything that he solely wrote. I can't say I've ever been like, that's the fucking thing for Rob. Like so.
I reached out to a Lucasfilm source before this stuff hit, like before, I said, is Ray old? Because also there was like a random Twitter account that was saying this first. It was like, what was it? We want toast or something. I can't remember.
Can we get some toast?
Can we get some toast?
No, that was Leonardo DiCaprio. He thinks everyone's old, Jason.
Oh, fair enough. But so and this is a source who told me Luke Skywalker in Force Awakens, 2 scenes, maybe even 1 in the end, but 2. And I was like, okay. And so I reached out and I was like, was Ray old in the movie? And they said Ray was never old. And so I'm not discounting the fact, like what you just read in Bespin's articles. Snyder's the one that's had like the fucking like line on all of this, the whole time. So like,
it's not discredit to Snyder. Like he's obviously very like good at what he does. And it's just people hear different things. Like it's not trying to go at him or anything.
Right, and yeah. So I just want to make that like super clear. You know what I mean? Like that I'm not fucking saying he's wrong.
Because people, as we all listen to his podcast, and we know it's like from what they say, there are idiots who haven't done their research on somebody like Snyder, who all just try to discredit him and devalue his reports and his scoops, but they have no idea what they're talking about. Like
Right.
we do appreciate him and what he does, and his actual podcast.
So I'm at a point where I'm like scratching my head like what the fuck, you know what I mean? And like, and then like I started kind of going like, because I've believed now that Daisy came aboard a lot earlier than we thought. And remember back in the I did a little bit of like the research on it too, from like when I spoke to a couple of people about her, and I started like looking at, remember there was a quote, I think I have her joining about a month before she was saying she'll always be Rey. Remember that quote? I think that's where I started looking up, like when I heard she had come aboard, and started looking up when she was talking about that, and that stuff was coming around. So I think, the lunch with Kathy and saying she'll always be Rey and that stuff, like she was already
there's also those
aboard
pictures she took at Lucasfilm HQ as well.
Yeah.
Remember those?
Yeah. So it makes me wonder. Oh, I have a couple of things. I'm kind of wondering if at some point, if I'm just trying to reconcile things from my perspective, right? I'm not saying this is what happened, but from my perspective, because I obviously believe my source 1000%. And so I'm just trying to like reconcile it. I'm wondering if they decided they were going a different way a long time ago. And there was sort of like this idea of, let's see what happens with that script when we get it. I don't know why they would even accept that pitch. The pitch isn't good.
They said they apparently liked the pitch.
Yeah, it's a really dumb idea. If that's the idea, maybe there's more to it. Maybe there's some angle and some spin that makes it really coalesce into something beautiful. And we can't see it based off of it just 60 years later. But I see 60 years later, and then I'm just like, cool. So that means we can't do anything with this very talented cast from the last sequel films with Rey, unless she lives for sure. Like and then we're all now also boxed into it meeting up with something 60 years in the future in some weird way. Like it becomes really like strange, you know. My brain started going into like really weird places. I was like, what if they were instead of de-aging Mark Hamill, they were going to age Daisy, like using the same shit to make her old. You know what I mean? And I started like wondering, like that would be kind of interesting, you know, if they just instead of making people young, they make people old. But I just like right now, my brain can't really make sense of why they would have thought it was a marketable idea. They're clearly moving more towards the more pop marketable idea, and then the only thing I could think of is like, were they fucking gonna do a Titanic? Like, oh, I'm old Ray. Let me tell you about the ocean, and then we fucking flash back to young Ray failing, and then then I started thinking about what he said. I'm not saying that's what they're gonna do. You know what I mean, though. I'm throwing out concepts, but it's like, and then I started thinking about it though, and like Lindelof wanting to get back in. Like, what if like there's something in that idea that they're like, you know what, like this event that like is why Ray is here as the 60-year-old, maybe that's the better movie right now, and maybe that's what they're doing instead. And then maybe Lindelof is saying, I want to come back in because maybe he's like, if that movie, you know, if this goes on, they will do that one, and I want to do it.
I don't believe in this take. I'm going to argue with Dale here for a second. People argue there's no stakes if you know someone lives beyond what you create later in the timeline all the time. What's Lindelof thinking? Bullshit. We know Batman's never going to die. We go see Batman movies. So I don't.
Yeah,
you think James Bond's going to die? You really think James Bond's going to die in the James Bond movies? There's more James Bond movies than there are anything else. So
Tony Gilroy, like said it best, right? When he was like, you know, Andor's going to die, and Gilroy says, you're all going to die.
Right.
Yeah, so you know what I mean? Like it's the stories are still relevant, and I'm gonna move the emphasis off death. Okay, it's just that it means that like Ray and Finn can't go do their full potential together with John Boyega and
Disney
Daisy
Plus.
Ridley. No, that's not what I'm saying.
Or they can do a prequel film, do a one-off sequel film, and then a one-off prequel film, and then a one-off sequel. Like you can get real stupid. They love timelines.
No, I mean, but like, imagine if in 1987 they went to do the sequel trilogy and they just didn't use Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, and Harrison Ford and just went right to Helen Mirren. Fucking dumb. No, if you're making the sequel trilogy in 1987, get fucking Mark Hamill. Like, so I'm glad that they seem to have come to their senses on that front. If this is like how the story actually goes, like, good. I'm really glad, and like that's a crazy fucking idea. A part of me appreciates the thinking outside of the box like idea of like, what would, you know, a story of old Ray be, but at the same time, like, what the fuck, like, this is what you wasted a year on, like, you know. And then like and then I'm gonna be, you know, I wish we lived in a world where things sold because they were just good, you know. But can you imagine Disney? No, can you imagine like fucking like Disney being like, yeah, we want to sell old lady Ray action figures. You know what I mean? Like,
you know why no one liked the prequels, Jason? Nobody liked them because they knew Obi-Wan couldn't die. No one watched those movies. No one watched the Kenobi series because they knew he couldn't die. Right?
You know what? There were people who I also disagree with them who said the prequels always suck because we knew what was gonna happen the whole time, and I'm just like,
yeah,
no.
That's why no one watches World War II movies.
You know,
because they know how it ends.
You know, I mean, yeah,
that's why I'm boycotting Oppenheimer this summer. I know how it ends.
Yeah,
that's fair.
It's gonna be a big bomb.
I'm just going right to Chernobyl. I'm just gonna watch that instead at home. But yeah, it's like it's just bad. It's bad shit. I think that I feel like there's a twist in the story somewhere, and I want to know what it is. You know,
one thing.
The twist is they didn't know what they wanted to do until they got a director who knew what she wanted to do. I mean, let's be honest. Like we again, directors get films made because they're the ones that have the vision. They have to go there every day to see it through. Mm-hmm. Unless you're a studio, like Marvel's built itself out in the studio way, like in the same way an animation studio, Pixar, or old Disney animation studios under Katzenberg, where like it's studio driven and the directors are really like the guys or the people managing, you know, work being turned in, work being headed out, departments coordinating with it. It's kind of a different thing. You know, you never got an auteur's vision with Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King. It was the studio's vision. You know, it was the producers at the top, and the people who directed those films were managing all of the work. Yeah. Lucasfilm is still not set up. They're not that way, even though sometimes it may feel because Kathy has that axe, right, where she's like axing items and stuff. They tend to be more reactionary. Like after we got the product, oh, that's not what we wanted to do. We want it to be more like this. It's kind of weird. Never quite seen anything like it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I don't have an opinion on it one way or another, other than it's weird and odd to me. But if she brought on a director and the director's seeing, you know, items on a board, right, seeing the projects, and then saying, well, what if it was more like this, and I could work with this actress, and I could do that, you know, and really getting behind, you know, an alternate version of what they were already doing, then I could definitely see them saying, yeah, we bought the script, we'll let them finish that. And then if that's, see what they got to see if that's what you want to do. And if they don't want to do it, then we'll go off and do this other thing, you know, like, because Lindelof's not going to be there on set shooting. And sorry, go ahead, Wilson.
Me and Jason had a similar conversation the other day regarding what you're talking about. Throughout Snyder's comments over the last few months or wherever, he's been saying that there's been disagreements between Charmin and Damon. You'd assume that's to do with the vision of the film, right? And what if like he was still pushing this old Rey, training two like Jedi? One of them we know was like in his late 30s probably. And Charmin had the foresight to say, hey, like this probably is better if we bring it to a younger Rey and wherever else. Also, there's the THR article that mentioned that Lucasfilm at the moment are like pretty scared about like coming back out into the theatrical releases, and mentioned that they are playing things safe, and they want to play things safe because they've spent so long away, and so many projects have gone through different versions of development, have been cancelled or whatever. Hence why they want to go with a Rey movie and the Mando crossover movie.
And on that same note, like I can add that playing it safe thing, it hasn't only been in concept. It's been in the fact that's why they have been kind of okay with so many things having died in the last year, because they haven't wanted to make it to release. Like they've wanted to stay in Disney Plus town until the theater industry recovered, and they're playing it ultra conservative in every single way. At the end of the day, I don't know if that ends up being good or not.
Well, I can tell you, if all this is to be believed as is, right? Mm-hmm. This is the way the facts are on the table. They are immutable. This is actually the way it happened.
Without any other facts or anything close to the facts, these are the facts we got to work with.
Right. So I'm just going to pretend. Let's say this is all true. Mm-hmm. I can tell you how I think Lindelof arrived at this, and it's pretty simple math. It's like, we want some new characters. We kind of want them to be a little older. How old was Daisy Ridley? She's not going to be training someone who's 30 when she's 30. You know, if she started training people and they grow up with her, she's going to be a certain age. What if we have these new characters, and then here's the thing. This other character is going to be older, and she's the Obi-Wan character. You know, we can go get a seasoned actress, and then if you want to go back and tell stories, you'll still have Daisy and all of them to go do that in. We're not discounting. Star Wars jumps time frames all the time. But really, it's about these other characters, and it's not a race-centric story. It's just doing the timeline math. It was like, you know, I could see it just being one of those side things in the way that, you know, you get a Michael Keaton to be an older Batman in a Flash movie or a Batgirl movie. It's kind of, you know, like it's not the pitch. Character. Yeah, it's not the pitch. It's just like it's something that comes out of everything else, you know, and you go, well, what do you think? And they go, well, there's an idea. I could see Kathleen Kennedy at lunch going, interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, you know, I'll give that a shot. You know, like we'll see where that goes. Because if the main story is about this other thing, then whether the Rey is ultimately 60 years old or not, you could probably take those ideas and still work them into a different story. But it's just hard sometimes when you're writing or creating anything once you kind of go down a path, it's really difficult to get your head out of that path. It's very difficult. Like, I mean, I've worked on projects where like, I mean, you go, it's so simple. It should be this way. Man, I'm still under NDAs. But imagine if you're working on Mario and you got a really good gameplay idea that goes against the things like the jetpack in Mario Sunshine. Like, there's a really good idea. I don't know if you base a whole fucking game around it. You know what I mean? You know, like a 60-hour experience. But once you're down that jetpack, that water pack thing, right? Then like you're building the whole game around it. And then in hindsight, maybe that's just an item you get, right? Maybe not the whole game.
Yeah, I don't like that game. I love Mario, but it's like one of my least favorite ones.
You also remember?
Yeah, go ahead, Bestman. Sorry.
You also remember from the trade reports last year, which we said like, oh, they're clearly informed stories, right? It's clear that they've had contact with Lucasfilm or Disney because the way they were all worded was very specific and very well. It was like it may or may not have a sequel trilogy character. Filoni may or may not be involved, and within like those reports, all of them were saying that it was set like a fair time after the Rise of Skywalker, and that they wanted a departure from the Skywalker saga. Like they wanted to move past it. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
They wanted it, and with this version now, with the Ridley-led version, this is in everything, in all but name, Episode 10, in my opinion. It's only 15 years after the Rise of Skywalker. Rey took up the mantle of Skywalker. So I don't think it's a massive departure from the Skywalker saga.
It doesn't. Okay. Two things. Number one is there's 20 years between Revenge of the Sith and the prequel and A New Hope. So if they want to be daring, they probably don't. But if they want to be, that's enough time to get from something that looks completely different in every fucking way if they wanted to. If they were, like I said, brave. I don't know if they will be, considering how conservative they've been. But the other thing is it's not a Skywalker saga movie if it's just Rey. It's got to have more stuff about the Skywalker family. If there's no Skywalker, if it's not a Skywalker family story, if it doesn't impact them, just one person in it, then it doesn't like apply. It would be like, that would make like in my opinion, the Mandalorian with Luke shows up, now it's part of the Skywalker saga. It's not. It's just a Skywalker just in that episode. You know what I mean?
If Rey is the lead in The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and The Rise of Skywalker, and then the next movie to follow that is the New Jedi Order movie in which Rey is the lead.
Mm-hmm.
That is a continuation of the Rise of Skywalker and that saga.
Yeah, but it would still not be the Skywalker saga, which is ultimately the story of that family. Like if you made a Luke Skywalker film about Luke Skywalker going off on an adventure and there's no other Skywalkers in it, it's just Luke, I still wouldn't consider that to be a Skywalker saga picture because it has to be about the family is the point.
I get what you're saying.
That's the organization, I think.
But the difference is if you have a Kenobi series, that should be Kenobi's in the center, and then if Kenobi appears in Star Wars Episode 4, he's not a Kenobi-centric story. And so if this were about Rey's students or some other characters where Rey is a Kenobi-type character, then it's not a Skywalker-centric story, even though a Skywalker, quote-unquote, technically appears in it. Though personally, I'm of the mind that they gotta just say, hey, those episodes 1 through 9 was a George thing, even though technically 7 through 9 wasn't. You know, like they should just be like, that's a George thing, and then we're gonna go over here to Fallen Order, Star Killer, the Fallen Order, number 1 or other shit, like, and I know there's great branding and putting a number 10 in front of something, but I think aside from that great branding marketing trick, there's far more downsides, to continuing that particular numerology or story, like trilogy, because everyone's going to expect a trilogy. There's so much baggage that comes with that.
Yeah,
you do a 10, you're going to have an 11 and 12,
I do follow what you're saying, Bestman, in the sense that you're saying if the story is continuing, like, why is that wouldn't logically be episode 10? Right? That's where you're going with.
I'm saying it's in all but name.
Yeah.
If you're following Rey as the lead character in 3 movies. When it was the Lindelof movie and she was a supporting character, she was old Rey, 60 years or whatever, fine, this is a departure. That's what the initial stories, the reports from the trades, whatever was saying. What I'm saying is, if she has now become the lead again, it's the direct follow up to The Rise of Skywalker. I'm not saying it's a Skywalker movie,
Yeah.
but I'm saying it's an episode 10 without being an episode 10 because
Yeah.
you're following the lead character of the last 3 movies, and she's the lead once again.
And that's what I kind of wanted to like pick up on is like that 15 years in terms of our storied brains might as well be 60 if they want to design it that way and put these people in different places and have them, you know, just be a completely like we're sort of lost, like what is this now? And Dell says she can train Finn. I will say, Dell, if she is still training Finn 15 years later, they got big problems with Finn. Finn's not a good student. She's not a good teacher. Something is fucking wrong if he's been in Jedi college for 15 years. Like now we're doing Star Wars old school. You know, that movie Old School where he just won't leave college. So it's like, or whatever. So at this point, like, I think Finn would obviously be her equal. Maybe not, you know, in terms of cosmically, but he would be his own scholar in the Force at that point. So and that right there, so you kind of go an interesting way on it where maybe he didn't do it. Maybe he finished, became a general and stayed being a general, and you know, married Rose and got attached.
Hey, how about this?
Whatever.
How about they just do episode 10 as a 35-part Marvel comic series, since it's all canon anyway? You'll be happy with it, right? You could just do a nice 35-part, year-long Marvel comic storyline, call it episode 10.
Nobody was happy with that, Rob. When we tried to do that, tried to read those Marvel crossover things, no one was happy.
But you can do it. It's all canon, so you can just do it there. It's good to go. Or do episode 10 as a series, as an animated series, right? A 16 episode per season episode to just let it keep going. It's called episode 10 for like 8 years.
And
like, just get it all out.
When you look at what the like intent of this movie realistically is, right? It's meant to sort of be an easy setup. People want to see Rey start a Jedi Order, get it going. They're going to want to leave the theater kind of feeling good, I think. I don't think that they're going to want to leave the theater feeling like, oh, Rey failed. And like it feels like shit, right? That's especially the first movie back after all this time. So they're going to go for a feel-good thing. They're going to go to delight you. They're going to also probably like not want to circumvent expectations a lot, because if they confuse you at all, then you become reactionary and then you reject. That's what Star Wars fans do. So they always have to like play it like really like clean in that way. But what they ultimately want is for this to spawn more films. And so I am expecting the usual shithead fucking idiot grifters to go and say it's a bait and switch. I was expecting this to be a Rey movie, but they're not going to do this movie without these new characters being very important in the film, if not as important as Rey. And there is a competing kind of stuff going on between what we hear, what Snyder reports, what the trades report about who's the fucking protagonist. Even Lucasfilm, when they're talking about it, is not clear. Is Rey the protagonist of this film? And that's something that I think they need to get out ahead of. They need to make it clear, like she is, she isn't, or this is an ensemble piece. It will be Rey and her students, and because I think ultimately you don't get more movies if it's probably, or you don't really get an explosion, you know, exponential growth in the series if it's just and then Rey and then Rey and then Rey. It's like, no, Rey's pupil does this and then this happens, and you know.
That's why I'm hoping it's called something like Star Wars Jedi Academy subtitle or episode 1 or whatever, to move away from, you know, episode 10 through 12 with the typical. Oh, you know,
Kathy already did that, and
comic book villain.
And that's the other thing I wanted to say about Bespin's comment was episode 1, 2, and 3. That's what we called them for years. even when they got the subtitle, we were still calling them episode 1, 2, and 3. And then Disney made the choice of, when we get to like episode 15, the shit's going to sound like a joke. So we need to drop the episode titles and stuff like that.
Right.
And that's why I think that they're not super into like doing an episode 10. I think they want to move away from that entirely. And then, but what's funny is as they move away from the episodic shit, then they're like, oh, we're putting the opening crawls back in all of them. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, but you need the opening crawls like with Star Wars films,
And
Like,
some
sad
of
to
them,
say, like
some of them it helps. Some of them, like, like I haven't really liked the openings. I don't think they've nailed the opening. Like in Rogue One, you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, but knowing the events of Catalyst, condensing some of that down into an opening crawl, right? Really,
Oh, God.
and the only reason why,
But they would,
it helps us.
Trade routes, remember trade routes and how hard they were though. If you put some of that shit in opening crawl, like that's the other thing.
I've written a few opening crawls. They're fucking hard, dude.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
And I was just going through the. So while I'm doing a lot of yard work right now outside in the morning, cutting rose bushes. My arm's killing me every day for 2 fucking hours. I got a bunch of rose bushes to deal with. But I was listening to Paul Hirsch's audiobook again. Paul Hirsch was, one of the 3 editors on the original Star Wars film, and the sole editor on Star Wars the last 5 months when Marsha quit to go work on Martin Scorsese's film because his editor died. So, but Hirsch was at the screening that De Palma, Spielberg, and all of them were at when they were looking at the mostly completed, work print of that film before the Fox executives saw it. And he gets into De Palma's talking shit to George. And what's up with the Force? It's so stupid. And I guess Lucas had chided back, well, maybe if your movies had a Force in it, they'd make more money. Like, he shut him up. Yeah. Everyone was like, ooh. But what I'm trying to get to is it took like 4 people, including De Palma, to come in and help rewrite the opening crawl. Like the one that was on there was clearly not working, for anybody. So like those opening crawls, they're super hard. And when they don't work, like the dead speak, right? Somehow Palpatine returned, right? It becomes a fucking, like the taxation of trade routes. I mean, that was a big contention point in 1999 amongst the average Star Wars fan when they saw the movie. They're like, fucking taxation and trade routes? Well, it had nothing really to do with the movie, but because it's the first thing you fucking read. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I mean,
they can't let it go.
Once people got into like nitpick mode, but just before we go on to the next part of this, I think there might be more to that, to the Coppola stuff with George and the cult. Remember, like he was telling him, like you should start a religion with this Force stuff. You should make a cult. Like you'll make a lot of money. The back of my mind, I don't know if people know this, but THX 1138, all the bald people.
Yeah,
that's from the cult Synanon. Lucas literally hired a cult to be in his movie. Well, and a part of me has always wondered, like, was he really looking into that? Like, was he really like going like,
70s. The 70s are so crazy, man.
I mean, and when you look at a lot of the stuff that he kind of did, I mean, other than like there's some things with cult leaders that George Lucas has done as a public figure that I just find there's definitely a paper there. But speaking of people who have that cult leader power, what if all of this Rey movie stuff is canceled? Or this report is just, is what it is. But because, wait, hold on.
No, I know where you're going with it.
This is cult leader
I know where you're going with it.
There he is.
Bam!
What's up, ladies? He's on Dave Filoni, get the cocaine. We're making a Star Wars next year.
I've got a really interesting shirt. You should see my matching underwear.
Yeah.
Oh, look, I like to buy Star Wars foreskins. What? 100 quid on Star Wars foreskins.
Yeah, he's like, my idea is you should call the Rey movie Foreskin. No.
We should call it Star Wars Episode Threesome.
Are you guys trying to do Taika's accent? Because both of you sound British at the moment.
Yeah, we're doing our
What's
best.
what I would never attempt to do his accent. I'm just trying to speak like the rock guy from Ragnarok, right?
Yeah, cold.
That's how I imagine it.
All right. Well, Bespin yesterday was it? What did this come out yesterday? The day before? I
don't even
remember.
remember.
Yeah, we were playing Fortnite. It was the day before. We were playing Fortnite. Spreezy messaged me the quote. I'm like playing Fortnite like that. I'm almost like, oh yeah, okay, whatever. And but the very last part was like where the money was. And then I remember we get done with Fortnite. You're like, oh dude, it's actually saying. And I was like, oh, I was like, oh shit. So Taika Waititi reportedly intends to direct his Star Wars movie next year. By Bespin Bulletin. So, and then remember, you could give him a coffee. So earlier today, and here's the thing. This is the weird thing.
Jason,
This is
just
deadline.
one more Bespin article, and then we'll stop reading his website. Just one more Bespin article.
Forever?
And then we'll stop reading it. Just one more.
Earlier today, Deadline reported that Thor: Love and Thunder director Taika Waititi had found his next film project, Clara and the Sun. A story that follows the titular character. There you did it. Clara,
character.
a robot gal who specializes in preventing teenagers from feeling lonely and attempts to save a family she lives with from heartbreak.
Oh,
So it's kind of like Megan, but the opposite. The outlet reports that Waititi has spent some time weighing up what his next project after Thor: Love and Thunder should be, including his untitled Star Wars movie, but ultimately landed on Clara. Waititi currently has commitments to a handful of movies and television series, which include The In Call, Tower of Terror, Oompa Loompas, The Auteur, and possibly a live-action adaptation of Akira.
Well, that reads like someone's vanity wish list in the high school yearbook. Like, what do you want to do when you grow up? I want to work on the Incal, Tower of Terror, Oompa Loompas, and make a live screen adaptation of Akira. You bet this motherfucker ain't gonna do none of that shit. He's got them all, Jason. He's got them all.
Does it all. With two chicks at the same time, brother. All right. The writer director.
Santa. Oh.
You know that scene in Office Space when like, what would you do if you had $1 million? He really did it though, man. He got the $1 million and he did it. All right. The writer director clearly has a lot on his schedule, but according to Deadline, once he's done with Clara and the Sun, Waititi will move on to direct his long-awaited Star Wars movie, as the article notes that Waititi is still excited about the project and intends on directing it next year. So, okay. The news that Waititi is aiming or hoping to shoot his Star Wars flick next year is quite surprising, given that all signs point towards the Daisy Ridley-led New Jedi Order film, being directed by Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, will be the next Star Wars film to release, with reports that the production intends to start shooting in February and release in December 2025. It's also been reported that Lucasfilm are also hoping to release the Dave Filoni-directed Mandoverse crossover event film in December 2026, but it's dependent on Disney Plus live-action series, namely a 4th season of The Mandalorian and possibly a 2nd season of Ahsoka. With this news, if true, it muddies the waters somewhat. And just one quick little caveat I want to say, with where Ahsoka ends, if I have that correctly, and I believe I do, I don't know why they would want to do a 2nd season before, but hey. Disney and Lucasfilm seem to be getting their Star Wars films in order after years of waiting, so the possibility that Waititi's film could shoot next year is a surprise, especially when you consider the splash Lucasfilm made at Star Wars Celebration, with Kathleen Kennedy announcing the two new Star Wars films previously mentioned, along with a Dawn of the Jedi movie from Logan director James Mangold, who recently unliked a tweet celebrating that the Waititi movie was no longer happening. It's really quite odd that if the report is true and Waititi intends to shoot a Star Wars movie next year, that Lucasfilm would not have the project at Star Wars Celebration, where he could have shared a little regarding the project. As mentioned previously, Lucasfilm are reportedly looking to release the Rafe-led film in December 2025 and the Mandoverse flick in December 2026. So, where does Waititi's film fit into all of this? It seemingly wouldn't, but we know he's been working on the project since 2020, and and was writing it with Christy Wilson Cairns, but Kathleen Kennedy recently revealed that Waititi is now writing the project alone, indicating that the story is likely going through revisions and rewrites. Personally, I've lost all hope on seeing the Taika Waititi movie. I truly appreciate the man as a filmmaker, and I've enjoyed pretty much all of his work, but given Lucasfilm's slate, how long the film has been in development with no significant update, and how momentum and confidence quickly grew around the new Jedi Order project after being in development for such a shorter amount of time, I don't see the movie releasing anytime soon, if ever, disappointingly. And then you could follow Bespin here. And so yeah,
But we had talked about the
basically-
2020. We talked about the 2026 film, right, Jason?
yeah.
Like there was that rumor about their film might be out in 2026. We're like, well, I guess that could be a Filoni thing, you know. And then maybe they're dead set on that slot, and then it's a matter of which one gets there first, you know.
I mean, I think if it's all true, if that's true, if that's accurate, if Deadline has their ducks in a row, I think the Rey movie's been pushed. I think there is no way they're doing 2 Star Wars movies in a year. There's no way the Filoni movies in 2026 and all of these film at the same time, unless they decided to film and just hold on to it, just to like get ahead, you know, have it in the bank to release in 3 years. I don't know if Disney would be down to drop, you know, $200 million to, or 150, whatever it's going to be, to do something like that and to hold it into, you know, that far into the future. I mean, I suppose it's possible, but I just don't see it as being likely. I don't see Disney not wanting just to release it all. You know what I mean? To make the money now, get the money in the quarter or whatever. And it doesn't. So someone's off. So the Filoni movie happening in 2026, maybe that's off, and maybe this is it. Or something got pushed, or the writer strike made it where Filoni's stuff and moving forward on that, they're like, we're not really thinking that's going to be able to happen, and that's taking its place. But either somebody's completely wrong or something is not accurate. And Bespin, in your article, if I'm reading what you're saying, you think that this is just not actually a thing.
I don't think this has ever happened. There was moments in the past I believed it, like before he was before they officially hired him, like I was hearing that they had their dream director and he was their dream director at the time. Yeah. And like rumors came out that he was hired and he denied them, and months later he was actually doing it.
Right.
And when you listen to Kathy, like previously she seemed excited about it, and he was going to be 2025, then he was getting pushed up to 2023, or she was at least hoping. After like Patty left, it seemed as if he was going to be what comes next, you know. And that's when I believed it would happen. But the moment this Rey film started like gaining like momentum, and they were developing a writer's room around it, and you know all the stars are aligning for it, I just gave up hope on Taika. Like if he was happening, like why wouldn't you bring him to Celebration? Like, even if you just put him on the screen, like Pedro was in it, he was on the screen, Harrison was on the screen, like John Watts was on the screen to talk about Skeleton Crew, like he wasn't on the stage. So with him, I think it's weird that she was like, oh yeah, we still want to develop that. Because Mangold and Charmine and Dave, none of them came out and said, this is the release date, we're coming out this year and whatever. They just said, this is what the project is about. They give us a little bit. We've never had that from Taika. So they could have come out and said, like, they had that big timeline on the screen, and they could have had to say, like, Taika is placed here. This is what he's doing, you know? But they didn't do it. Like, I don't think this is happening. I think this might just be, don't know if bullshit's the right word, but I just think that it's not accurate. Like, all the signs point to the Rey one happening. Like, he was supposed to get a draft in for this month or by this month, right? Stephen Knight. Like the Dave Filoni one in the PHR articles, like they also say that it's dependent on the 4th season of Mando, which we know the script is written, and like they're gonna wait till October to hopefully shoot it. There's the possibility of a 2nd season of Ahsoka or whatever else they're gonna do. It's dependent on the series. Like I just and the Ray film is supposed to start casting in August and shoot in February. Like, I really don't know. The only thing I can see is what we've talked about before is if this writer strike goes on like far longer than we hope, and like Knight isn't able to give him a draft, isn't able to meet the timeline and schedule that was presented to him and he agreed to, and Taika's further along. That's the only way I can see it changing. Is if like because Taika's been working for 3 years. Like he's he seems to be going through revisions. Like he's now doing it on his own without Kirsty Wilson Cons. So I don't know. Like that's the only way I can see the Taika movie happening. But I don't believe him. Like he gets attached to so many things and doesn't pull through. Like last year they made a big deal about him doing the Incal, and there's been no update on it, like whatsoever. Like he talked about doing Akira like years ago, and Warner Brothers backed out of it. Like, and if you look at Warner Brothers currently,
that's not his fault. Though.
No, but if you look at Warner Brothers currently, like they aren't really committed to, like bigger projects. Like he also talked about wanting to do a Flash Gordon project, and he was weighing up. Like this was last year. Like last year he was saying he was weighing up doing a Flash Gordon reboot or the Star Wars film. Like in both scenarios, in that one, and in the article presented by Deadline, it seems that he's got the power. Like he's weighing up what his next movie should be. Like in both versions.
That right there is why I think Lucasfilm didn't bring him. Is the fact that they don't control what he does next. They don't have that. And that's the only thing that makes me wonder if that's why there could be some kind of truth to this, some kind of like thing of like this is really what's happening. It doesn't really make sense. I mean, but that's why I'm like, yeah, if I were Lucasfilm and like Taika's like, oh, I'm doing this, yeah, and I'm making fucking Time Bandits and Flash Gordon, and he's like all this stuff, but he is rather prolific. He's constantly producing things. Things are coming. He's not like Patty Jenkins who like fucking took like 10 years off after, a little bit of like success. He's continually like making stuff. So that's what gives me confidence that it could happen. I kind of think it will happen. I just don't know when, because it obviously like nobody knows when. But I think it will happen if he wants it to, and because they want him to make a Star Wars movie for them. But would they do 2 Star Wars movies in a year for Taika? Like,
I don't think so.
I kind of don't think they would either. Or do they intricately understand how they fucked up from The Last Jedi to Solo, and they have a new strategy to try it? I would think that would be important. They have said otherwise, though. They have said like we're not going to like do that. They have said we're going to let things breathe, and what the trades in totality are telling us is they're not letting things breathe at all. And so if that's true, then it could be, once again, Iger and Disney pushing to not let things breathe.
He is also supposed to be doing a Tower of Terror movie for Disney, which he signed up for last year.
I'll be right back, guys.
Okay.
He signed up to a Tower of Terror movie last year for Disney.
Yeah.
And from what we were hearing at the time, that was a project they were passionate about and wanted to push. Like it's not obviously a straight up comparison to Pirates of the Caribbean, but they want a movie that it directs it's directly attached to the parks. Because if they get a movie out about Tower of Terror or whatever, it gets people interested in the parks. It sends them down that avenue. It's the same thing with the Haunted Mansion movie that's coming out. It's the same thing with Pirates of the Caribbean. Like Taika, like he's everywhere. Like this thing mentions like it's his first film project since Love and Thunder came out, and he's been weighing his options.
Yeah.
In between that, he has been directing and acting in things, whether he's acting and producing Our Flag Means Death, or shooting Time Bandits for Apple TV, doing Interior Chinatown, I think it's called. It's a comedy. He's been doing that, so it seems if he does do this movie, this Clara and the Sun, like it didn't give a rough production schedule or anything. It just that's what he's chosen as his next movie.
Yeah.
So if that is his next movie, and they say he intends to shoot Star Wars next year, then he's going to do this Clara movie by the end of the year, right? He's also got that movie. He's got the Next Goal Wins coming out in the autumn, in the fall, which he has to promote. So he has to sideline time to do that. So I don't see where he finds the time even next year, unless it's like later in the year, to shoot the Star Wars movie. Because we know from the trades and everything, and Snyder, that they intend to shoot the Rey movie in February, start the casting process by Labor Day, I think is the words that Snyder used. So I don't know where this falls in. Like, I'm a big fan of his work. People like dog on him because of one movie, like Thor: Love and Thunder. Like, they forget about his other movies, or they haven't fucking bothered to watch his other movies.
Yeah,
like,
I don't like Thor: Love and Thunder, but the thing about it is, Thor: Love and Thunder said, "What happens if we take a superhero movie as a genre and the romantic comedy as a genre and combine them together? How we do with all of our Marvel movies? What if we do that?" And he delivered that to them. I don't like it, but that's what it is. Like, he gave them what they paid for. I don't. And everything else he's done that wasn't, and that's a very crazy concept when we get down to it. That's a fucking weird. That's like, I don't know if that's really like that common or has ever happened before. I don't think it ever has.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been romance and love, but not a romantic comedy, kind of. You know what I mean? Like,
but it's
a rom-com in a superhero genre.
Yeah.
So his everything else the other stuff he's done is spectacular and stellar, and I still think that's good. I think it's like putting barbecue sauce on cake. You know, it's, you don't do
right,
it.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
gross.
But it's also like a lot of these people who just decide to dog on him and rag on him because they saw one movie. Like, they probably only ever watched 2 fucking movies he's done in his entire life, which is Thor Ragnarok, which is like one people enjoy, and the second one is Thor: Love and Thunder, which people didn't enjoy as much. And they haven't looked at the rest of his like filmography and realized that this guy is a good director. This guy is a talent. You know, like, one thing you and I do is every time there's a new writer or a new director attached to Star Wars, me and you go and watch their work. Like, you did it with Stephen Knight. Like, I'd seen some of his stuff, and you sat there and watched Rogue Heroes and C, and you've already seen some of Peaky Blinders. Like, and I sat there recently.
I watched all of her documentaries I could watch.
Recently I watched, like, stuff from Leslie Headland to, like, get a feel for her, and season 1 of Russian Doll is fantastic. Like, people should do that before, like, judging him. They think, oh, like, everybody who reacts to this shit, like, today for me has been like, oh, no, I don't want him because Thor: Love and Thunder shit. Like, I don't know. Like, fucking, you want to talk about shit? Like, the next story we're going to talk about, like, those directors I wouldn't want doing a Star Wars movie. Like, but Taika, he is talented. He just made one movie which was divisive, I suppose. But it made the most money of any Thor movie.
So once again, yeah, and that's what they probably mostly care about, right?
Disney, yeah.
I mean, in terms of rehiring somebody, did you make us money? I made us money. All right, that's good. I mean, those Transformers movies are fucking shit. They suck. They are terrible pieces of film. But they make money, or they have made money, and here we are, like, almost over 20 years later, I think, and they're still doing them, right? Or about 20 years later. And they're like still doing them. So it's like, yeah, that's the bottom line for the studio. But I think that if he goes to do a Star Wars movie, he's not going to be like, oh, what would happen if we took this and that? I think he's going to probably not want to fall on his face with Star Wars. I think he's savvy enough. He's a very savvy guy. He's savvy enough to obviously know, if you fuck up Star Wars, that's going to follow you forever. If you're controversial, it's going to follow you forever.
Look what just happened with Lindelof. Like, Kathy and the rest of them, they didn't agree with the vision ultimately. Yeah. Like, of this old ass Rey, if it's true. And they said, this isn't happening. We're pivoting to this new vision and direction with Steven and Charmaine. If Taika's writing something and they don't like it, they'll rejig it. They'll find a solution to it. Or the movie just won't happen. It's people just getting worried that, oh, it's going to be the Taika doing Taika things. Like, Lucasfilm will step in and they will have conversations, and they won't want to make Star Wars a joke. And people forget that Taika did the Mandalorian season 1 finale that everybody loved.
Right.
Like, he has had experience in that world. So
yeah, I'd be more worried if Jon Favreau was writing and directing a Star
Wars.
Oh,
fucking 100%. Yeah, like, I would never want Jon Favreau to be writing this. If they
Yeah.
said, "Oh, it's being written by Jon Favreau and directed by Peyton Reed," I'm like, "Oh fuck," like now we got a problem.
Well, so speaking
Cue,
of,
cue to Rob jumping off the Coronado Ridge. I'm out. Peace.
so this is one of those stories where I'm like, we got to talk about it, but this is from Best and Bulletin. The Russo brothers had talks to direct Kevin Feige's Star Wars movie. And in 2019, it was reported by various trades that Marvel Studios president and the mastermind behind the MCU, Kevin Feige, would be teaming up with Lucasfilm to develop an untitled Star Wars movie for the studio, which he'd be producing. Shortly after, it was confirmed by Disney Chief Executive Officer Alan Horn that Feige was indeed working on a Star Wars project for Lucasfilm. Since then, we've had very little information on the film, and as it stands currently, the project does not appear to be happening. Last year, we got word from the writer of Loki and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Michael Waldron, that he was in the process of writing the Feige flick. Shortly after, Waldron signed up to write Marvel Studios' most ambitious project to date, Avengers: Secret Wars, which is scheduled to release in May of 2026. And due to this commitment, he was no longer able to commit to the Feige Star Wars project. Feige himself reportedly became so busy that he was unable to commit to a Star Wars project. As Marvel Studios began releasing more projects than ever, which included at least 3 movies a year to 4 live-action Disney Plus series a year, Marvel Studios also had a somewhat turbulent year with multiple films underperforming commercially and critically, with growing division and disappointment in the fan base, which has seemingly forced Marvel Studios to change their strategy. Marvel Studios are set to spend more time in post-production on their projects, have been hiring more experienced writers to rewrite their films such as Fantastic Four, Thunderbolts, and Blade, and intend to slow down on the number of series and movies released a year. We know that the project would be the brainchild of Kevin Feige, this is the Star Wars one, and that Michael Waldron would write that vision. But one thing we never had an update on during the various years of the Feige project that was in development was just who would direct the project. Many fans speculated and assumed that whoever it was, they'd likely have ties to the MCU and worked with Feige previously, with some fans speculating that it could be Peyton Reed, who directed the Mandalorian Season 2 finale, or the Russo brothers, who directed both Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, and now seem to have an answer. During the latest episode of Smartless, a podcast hosted by actors and comedians Jason Bateman, Ozark, Will Arnett, Arrested Development, and Sean Hayes, Will and Grace, Joe and Anthony Russo, better known as the Russo brothers, revealed that they had early talks with Marvel Studios head honchos Kevin Feige about possibly directing his Star Wars flick, with Joe saying, "We love Star Wars. There were some early conversations with us. Kevin Feige is a huge Star Wars fan, and there were some early conversations about maybe teaming up with Kevin to do Star Wars." I'm sure if this was 2019, many Star Wars fans would have been elated to this possibility, with Joe and Anthony coming off the back of the fantastic films in Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, 2 films which went on to become some of the highest grossing movies of all time, as well as other Marvel hits such as Captain America, The Winter Soldier, and Captain America Civil War. See, I like both of those. I hate the fucking Avengers movies. I think they're shit, but I love Winter Soldier, and that's why I believe in them. However, since Endgame and stepping out from the Marvel Studios shadow, the results of the Russo brothers project have been fairly disappointing. In 2021, the Russos released the Tom Holland-led Cherry for Apple TV Plus, which received a negative response from critics. The Russos followed up Cherry last year with The Gray Man, which starred Ryan Gosling from Drive, your favorite movie, Ana de Armas, Knives Out, and Chris Evans, Captain America, for Netflix, which also received negative reviews. Most recently, the duo released the 7-episode series Citadel for Amazon Prime, which boasted a budget of over $200 million, which some reports claiming up to $300, which has received a middling response from critics. Yeah, I know what this is like.
What? what the freaking $300 million? What the? Oh my goodness!
That's
Jesus.
3 prequels, bud.
The ghost of Kurtz is gonna haunt us all. I can't.
And Pepsi didn't pay for it, George. Can you believe that shit?
No, not even RC Cola. I tried. I tried.
Don't worry, though. Disney
Yeah.
will own Pepsi eventually. The reveal from the
300.
Russo brothers follows comments made by Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy from Star Wars Celebration, where she claimed that Kevin Feige wasn't officially announced and that it was a story in the press and fandom, despite
losers.
Alan Horn confirming the Horn Dog, confirming the project was being developed. Kennedy added that there was nothing to the Feige project and that the duo
burger.
never discussed an idea, even though we know that Kevin Feige had hired Michael Waldron to pen the project.
And Jonathan Hales.
Which he confirmed he was doing last year. And the Russo brothers confirming that they had early discussions, also directing the feature. The Russo brothers' next project is a film entitled The Electric State.
Oh, wow. Great title. Yeah.
Which
That's gonna
features
be a bigger win.
I mean, you did do, Electronic Labyrinth, George. You should like that, you idiot.
Yeah, but Labyrinth it's clearly a winner. What movie named State?
David Bowie. Like, it had David Bowie in it. Oh, never mind. Which features a state-studded cast, including Millie Bobby Brown, a.k.a. Princess Leia, according to a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
Stranger Things.
She was on the Ghostbusters 2 soundtrack. Yeah.
Chris Pratt, Ke-Huy Kwan, Giancarlo Esposito, Brian Cox, Anthony Mac. Okay, and then you just name a bunch of people to get that word count up. Sorry, Bespin. Sharmino Bay-Chinoy.
It's true.
Okay, and the next theatrical release is believed to be the Daisy Ridley led Jedi Order film by Sharmino Bay-Chinoy.
I like how he.
Yeah, we know it. We know about that.
I like how he put in Jason Alexander from Seinfeld.
Yeah.
He wrote that one in. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, this article had a few things for you guys. It was the Jason Alexander thing. It was the Mastermind Ben the MCU, like a titular in the Taika one. It's all for you, lad.
It's
I
all
did
for
it for
you,
you.
Damien. It's all for you. Yeah. So the thing about this, like this story is a big deal because whether they're hot now or not, they are a big deal, and that's why the story exists. But like in reality, like I just think that if people understood the amount of people who have gone in to talk and or have been pitched or like, what do you think, and felt out and stuff like that, like it's probably almost everyone, almost everyone.
My thing more for the story was that, like Kathy said, there was nothing to the Feige thing, that the fandom and the press sort of made it, and that they never discussed an idea, when it's clear that Feige had an idea because he hired somebody to do the project, like to write it in Waldron, like, and was actively like asking directors, like just having discussions with them. He must have had an idea. Lucasfilm must have heard that. I don't know why she said that, like that there was nothing there.
Maybe because his idea was so like, oh, it's Star Wars cops. It's space police. That's it. Maybe it's just something so just like, and they're like, yeah, we'll do whatever you want. You're Kevin Feige. We'll do something. And then maybe he hires Waldron. And then he says, and then Waldron, like he puts Waldron on the other project. Maybe they never turned in anything that they wrote because they never finished it, or they never got it where maybe he was just like going to get it where he wanted it and then submit it to her. Maybe she never saw it.
She's saying that there was never an idea.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so you even presented like maybe it was Star Wars cops. Like she's claiming there was no idea.
Yeah.
To be fair, Bespin, she fell asleep in that meeting. They just didn't have the heart to tell her. They did the whole pitch, and she was snoring.
Yeah. But it's just like, again, she keeps saying weird things. It's like last year when we were in like at the tail end of May, I think, and she was like, "Yeah, like Taika's gonna, have his film released by the end of next year, this year, 2023." And Taika came out like days later. He was like, "I have no idea. Like, I haven't even turned in the script."
Yeah.
So
we've been very consistent on this show, Bespin, about how Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm PR is pretty fucking horrible. Like,
well, I mean, like Pistol Pete saw, like, what does he say? He says, I think we can all agree we can't trust Kathleen Kennedy. I don't know if I would go that you can't trust her. She's a liar. She's gonna get you. I kind of think that
Yeah.
she doesn't actually do a lot of interviews. She's
Oh,
pretty
all right.
outside of Celebration. She's pretty elusive, and
Elusive.
yeah, she is. No, and that's also why YouTube is able to like make her into whatever they want, because if she's not really there, so you can just say anything about her and there's nothing to challenge it usually. And so what she's saying may be a case of like what you're saying, where she says like the Taika thing and just fucks it up, just fumbles it or whatever, doesn't remember. Has heard fucking 89 fucking pitches this year, doesn't remember what he said.
But if
You
but
know,
if that's what they're prioritizing,
yeah,
like at her words at that point was like, yeah, he is literally the next Star Wars like movie that's coming out.
hmm
You would pretty much know when you're aiming to make that happen and when it will realistically happen as the president of the studio.
hmm
And then for Taika to come out weeks like just what was it like a week later, I was like, yeah, no, I haven't even turned in a draft. Like
But
that's
but
not happening.
Bespin, not one person in the history of her tenure at Luke, I don't even think during Lucas's time has ever been like, hey, like at a press junket, no reporter's ever been like, hey, remember that time you said this movie was supposed to come out like 2 years ago? What was you lying about that? Like, well, you said Feige ain't got no movie when it says right here he's got a movie. Hey, what's up with that? Like, no one's, if you never have to be, no one's ever going to question her on that. So you would just say whatever you have to say in an interview to get out of talking about something you don't want to talk about, right? Like,
But even if you were her, you could have just been like, because with every other project, like in the one which you brought up, the Feige thing, you never even had an idea. She mentioned that, yeah, we're still talking to Ryan, we still want that to happen, and Rogue Squadron, yeah, that's still happening. We might turn it into a series, and Taika, yeah, he's still doing his movie. Like that was all from the same interview. Like, and she made a real big point of saying movies don't just get cancelled. They're just in development. They might be in development a long time, and it might just not work out. Like,
yeah.
but she could have said something similar to that to the Kevin Feige movie. She just claimed there's nothing to it. I don't know. It's just like odd
Or
things that she says that
but
don't make any sense.
what if there was no idea? What if you just I'm Kevin Feige, I want to do a Star Wars movie, and they're like, yeah, that's a great idea. Disney's pushing it a little bit, like, hey, get this guy, he's doing all this stuff, and they're like, and he's like, yeah, okay, so I'm gonna go and I'm gonna work it out, and then maybe he gets together with Waldron, and they're just like sort of kicking around ideas, and he's like, well, yeah, and then Waldron sort of like starts maybe outlining, and then they
Waldron
just
goes,
move on.
you know what we
It's,
should
it's
do?
possible. I don't know,
We should make Ray 60 years old. That's what we should
but
do. We should make
Waldron.
Ray. Thanks, Waldron. Thanks,
Yeah,
Waldron.
Waldron is the key to the story, though, because somebody needs to follow up with Waldron and say, how far did you get in your Star Wars script before you
Second
stopped?
base, third base.
Yeah, exactly. Did you fill into the
Yeah, well,
shirt?
we're probably not going to see Waldron now for like another couple of years. Like he's
Mm-hmm.
deep in development on Secret Wars. Like that's his next project that's releasing. Like he's
Yeah.
not. He didn't work on the Loki season 2 that's coming out like this summer.
Right.
Like he all his chips is on the Secret Wars project. Like so we won't get that answer from him. Like what the smartest guy should have asked is like how far did those conversations with the Russo brothers go?
Yeah.
Like not just they say that quick like little line and then they move on. If it was us or like a journalist or something, we would have been like, well, how far did you advance in those talks?
Yeah.
Like, what, like, did you like the idea? Did you like the pitch? Like,
But
wherever.
like somebody like Waldron though might end up speaking at a college or something and doing a
He might,
Q&A
yeah.
after, you know what I mean? Like or like a screening of one of his films or something like that. It may happen. I hopefully when something like that does happen, there is somebody who does say, how far did you go with that? You know what I mean? Because it and who knows? Maybe now they may lie to protect Kathleen Kennedy because she said that, and they want to stay in our good graces for some reason. I don't know, but I do think he's the key. If he's not following along, he may just say like, yeah, I did an outline or something, but. Because I remember when that was going on, because like Waldron was one of the writers I was the most excited for to come to write a Star Wars thing. I was like, I don't really care about Kevin Feige, and I don't know. They made a billion things, and some of it I like, some of it I don't like. I just don't really care. But when Waldron came aboard, that's when I cared more. That's when I was like invested. You
Mhm.
know, I'm like, I like
Yeah,
him as a
same.
writer. I want to see what he does. And so I'm still hoping that he ends up doing something with Star Wars someday. And I'm hoping
Mhm.
that it but when that was happening, you were like, he's doing this thing now. I think he's off of it. And I was like, no, he's not off of it. They could write two things at once. They could have multiple things. Sometimes
No.
writers write, you know what I mean? Though we're like talking about it, and then well, sure
Look
as
at
hell,
Stephen Knight. He's writing like a shit ton of stuff at the
yeah,
moment.
yeah.
Like he's
But
doing Vertigo or something, isn't he?
Vertigo, yeah, he's doing and on that one I wonder about though, like, because I mean, it's like a twist on something that's already been written before, so I'm not sure. It's like it depends on how he is at adaptations, how and to what degree he's going to change it and stuff. But I don't.
It's the same movie, but they all speak in Shakespearean.
Oh,
You know,
so that's cool.
I taminator, apanaminee, I pomometer. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And stomatopia.
they
You know what I mean?
talk dumb is what you're trying to say. All right, we got one last thing before we go. Just we end this on a Mando sandwich. A Mando sandwich.
Manwich.
A Manwich.
They really should do Mando Witch fucking branding and take that Manwich can and make a little like Mando helmet out of it, you know, with like the reflection of the burger in there.
All right,
Mando
a
Witch.
sloppy Mando.
Oh, I like it.
The Mandalorian season 3 finale viewership reportedly higher than that of season 2. And then right here we have
Oh yeah, make more of it.
my least favorite shot in the whole series probably was this. I thought
I
that
couldn't get a good quality picture of it. Like it's pretty hard to find.
because it doesn't look good. There is
Yeah.
no. I mean, I thought people were really into it on Twitter, and I was like, that looked like shit to me. What are you fucking talking about? Like I was like, no, that looked like that was my least favorite shot in the whole series probably. Okay,
Just one more Bespin article and then we're done reading Bespin's site. All right,
nope,
just so you know.
never again. Nope,
No?
nope. We got
Never- no?
about 5-15 more.
Just one more.
No, we're then gonna read his
Listen,
live
Rob.
journal.
Right? These motherfuckers don't send me coffee money, right?
Yeah.
They can sit through and just like have it force fed to them at this point, right? You don't give me any pennies. You
Why
take the
is
shit.
it our show called Force Feed? Right, where we force feed you scoops and spoilers and bullshit, right?
Yeah, I
You
don't
should do
I don't
that.
give him anything, so I'm doing the audiobook version for him. He's gonna clip all of these out and put out a Bespin Bolton audiobook narrated by me. According to
Yeah.
Samba
Just one more
TV,
article.
the finale
done.
of the third season of The Mandalorian racked up higher viewership than that of the second season finale. Samba is reporting that 1.4 million unique viewers tuned in to the third season finale over the course of 5 days, whereas 1.1 unique million tuned into the season 2 finale. The news is quite surprising, given that the opening episode of Mando's third season had less unique viewers than that of the season 2's premiere episode. And that's because people are watching it together, I think. And that the season 3 finale didn't have any internet breaking moments, such as young Luke Skywalker turning up to save our heroes, along with a touching goodbye between Din and the phenomenon that is Grogu. However, the season 3 finale is still slightly lower than the numbers of the Book of Boba Fett finale, which brought in 1.5 million unique viewers, and that of Obi-Wan Kenobi, which brought in 1.8 million unique viewers, both according to Samba TV. Though the most streamed Disney Plus series finale is held by Loki season 1 with 1.9 million unique viewers. It's worth remembering that that Samba TV is essentially only a sample size of what the true viewership is, only monitoring smart televisions, but it gives us an idea of the performance of an individual episode or series. Samba provides a portion of unique viewers that tune into a specific episode, in this case, The Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 8, which is in contrast to numbers provided by Nielsen, which shares the numbers of minutes watched in a certain week. But those numbers contain additional episodes from that season and the series as a whole. For example, if you watch the finale of Mando Season 3 in its release week, but also decided to rewatch the entire season the day before, those numbers count towards that week's number of minutes watched. Typically, Disney Plus don't provide numbers for the specific episodes of film unless the project has performed exceptionally well. Then Disney will let fans and the media know. Most recently, they boasted that Black Panther Wakanda Forever became the most watched Marvel film premiere on the service, which was based on the number of minutes watched, not unique viewers. In the past, Disney celebrated that Obi-Wan Kenobi was the most watched premiere, which consisted of 2 episodes of any Disney Plus original series, which also based on minutes watched. Disney's most watched premiere based on unique viewers and not minutes watched is reportedly Loki. And you can tell wording in these victory lap statements is key. They can all appear to be astounding successes. It's unlikely Disney Plus will provide numbers in this scenario either, whether it be unique viewers or minutes watched, as The Mandalorian Season 3 has been outperformed in both metrics by past Star Wars series.
Yeah, WGA.
Only Disney themselves know the true numbers of any of their series or films of their streaming service, and unfortunately they don't share them with the public. As I previously mentioned, if a project is a success, Disney will release a celebratory statement with some insight into how their project in question fared. However, it's down to third parties such as Samba TV and Plum Research to share data which won't be entirely accurate, but it's insightful nonetheless and gives us a ballpark into how a project performed on the streaming service, for which I'm grateful. He's a very grateful kid. Yeah, that's the whole thing right there. Is that like, I think this is all stupid, but where the value in, as you point out, is that it's you're able to look at it against itself. Like, how did it perform for Samba here and then there? It's the same thing. So therefore, it probably did better, right? I mean, that's our takeaway.
And they do it with like other like shows. So you'll see them do it for like House of the Dragon and how it performed like against other shows. And then when the numbers come out like officially, like HBO do release numbers, like the latest episode of Succession, they said 2.7 million watched it in its first night, like,
Right.
which was up from the week before, which was 2.6. HBO will provide you numbers, whereas Disney don't. So something like Samba, like, even though it's not the full audience and it's not the true numbers, the size of it, the reflection of it is usually accurate.
Yeah.
So The Mandalorian probably didn't perform as well as Boba Fett, but it did probably perform better than season 2, like in its finale. Like, we also don't know how many like unique viewers it had across the entirety of the series.
Right.
Like, we know that, through Plum Research, we know that Obi-Wan Kenobi had around 30 million, and we know that like Boba Fett had like less than that. I can't remember what the number was. It might have been like it was like 28 million or something. But yeah, like Ando had 20. So like they gave us like sample sizes, and like, well, Plum Research, like, it takes longer to get the information, but that's much like wider, much broader than what Samba gives. But like, you can take it as it probably has performed like better. And that's why I hate when they do this stupid minutes watch thing, because it's like Netflix will top it every week because they'll release entire like seasons in one go.
One thing related to that, is that, well, two things, is that when you have like the season 2's opening was like 60 minutes or something for Mandalorian, and then season 3's was like 30 minutes. So therefore, season 3 looks like it underperformed compared to season 2, but it was
in minutes watched. It would be
in minutes watched. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's why like the metrics are just like, they're fucking wacky.
That's why, like, in the article I mentioned that they touted Obi-Wan had the biggest, like, it was their biggest launch due to minutes watched, and that's because they had 2 episodes. Whereas Loki, which had the most unique viewers, that, like, it had less minutes watched, but it had more unique viewers, which means that's the true, like, the highest performing like premiere of a Disney Plus series.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of individuals watching it, whereas Obi-Wan had the most minutes watched, which is, again, like what Nielsen does, like when Mandalorian is charting, it could just be people binge watching the entire season. Like when episode 8 comes out, like they're watching all until the end, and they count it all as people streaming Mandalorian.
Right.
They don't just see it as episode 8. I know this is in the weeds and everything, and people probably don't really care, but I care. Like, I'm a weird little nerd. So
Yeah, no, I find it interesting. Like we always complain, and we're just like, just give us what the viewers actually were, But I will say, like, on the opening of Mando, and just like friends that I know in real life, like I knew a couple of groups of friends who got together to watch it. Like, we weren't supposed to watch it without each other and stuff. They all got together and watched it, and like So if that was common on the opening of that, then you would have a lower number, and then by the end of it, people have just like gone on with their lives and they watch the end at home, not like in a party or like not in
But
a
also,
get together scenario, and that might account why you have more people at the end than at the start, because it almost makes it look like people just watch the end or something, which doesn't make sense.
but also at the time, if you remember, for around the opening, you had a lot of people saying they didn't know it was back.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even on the hot mic, like John Roca and Jeff Snyder, they both said they didn't know that show was back. Like, they didn't see any marketing for it. I know Snyder doesn't really care about Star Wars, but Roca keeps up with it. Like, and he was saying that
Roca has a Star Wars show with Force Toast chick. Like, sorry, I forget Laura, right?
With Andor, I saw the buses everywhere. Like, and me and the kids, we see the buses everywhere. With Mando, we finally got one Mando bus like the other day after it had already been off the air at night. It was like probably just some random bus that just still had the old stuff on, but like I didn't really see the like the bus ads and stuff like that. I would see like the big billboards when I go down towards like Los Angeles, but like just around, I don't think they put as much into the like actual like marketing maybe as they did for instance Andor. Well, they probably just didn't see a real payoff, and they probably pulled back on the Mando stuff because of it. Maybe I'm just, but anyways, where I wanted to like take this is where the dumb stuff on the internet's going now, and I've already seen the tweets, and the tweets are dumb. Filoni is the single writer of Ahsoka, and when you look at like in the fine details there, it says it's like a scripted series, 60 minutes. Now everybody's going around saying that yet they are 60 minutes. Guys, every episode of Ahsoka is 60 minutes, 8 hours of content. That's bullshit. It's fucking stupid. This isn't anybody's first rodeo at this point.
Filoni literally said, like during interviews, this like similar to Mandalorian, like episodes in length.
Yeah.
So, and he said he makes them shorter on purpose so they flow well. They flow better.
No, exactly. They go, and so like what that number has to do with is that that's like where does this script fall? How do you categorize it? It's about in that 60 minutes, because the shows are about 45 minutes. So what they end up doing is a page counts as a minute in script time. Script time doesn't apply to Star Wars. If we were doing a soap opera or whatever, that's pretty normal, like a drama.
Also doesn't apply to Aaron Sorkin.
And so with Star Wars, with the George Lucas faster, more intense stuff, you end up going and you're trimming and you trim, and then you're just clean shaven. But you end up just completely like with a very fast paced, punchy like Star Wars product. So So when Ahsoka comes out and the episodes are fucking 33 minutes,
But also, like, people don't bother to do research. Like I said, you can just find that clip from Filoni's very quick. But also, you look at like when we've had these things released in the past, for whether it's Boba Fett or Obi-Wan Kenobi, they say the same thing. They also say 60 minutes. Yeah. And then people get into the usual thing of rejoicing that it's it's long. Like, even though that doesn't mean the pacing is going to be good. And it's the same thing. Like, if you do a little bit of research and understand what's going on, like, you won't be disappointed. Yeah. Like, same thing as this guy in the chat at the moment. What's his name? Rick Jones, saying Nielsen ratings are like more accurate. I was just explained what the Nielsen ratings are. They are minutes watched. They're not unique viewers. I'm not saying they're not accurate. Like, that is the number of minutes watched, but it's not the same thing as a unique viewership. Like,
right.
If Jason watches the fucking Mandalorian 5 times, like, they count his minutes, but they'll only count him once as one viewer. Like, same thing, like, for all of us. If all 3 of us watch it, cool. Like, one unique viewer. Yeah. And we can all watch it one time. But Jason can watch it 5, me and Rob can watch it once, and that'll count towards the minutes watched. Like,
right. What if I only watch, like, half? Can I quit? Is that...
It still counts. Yeah, it still counts.
Damn.
You can go watch Mandalorian season 1. And it'll count to the Nielsen ratings for like this week or whatever, like just do research and you won't be disappointed and you won't need to fight people, but people just don't give a shit.
Yeah, and the Ahsoka series, there may be some that are 60 minutes. It could happen. There might be one, but you should expect it to be an average. All of these shows of 45 minutes, and Dave Filoni was being fucking dumb about even confirming it was 8 episodes. So fucking stupid. Like, what is that? Fucking, it's 8 episodes. Just say it's fucking 8 episodes, man. Nobody gives a shit. Like, that's so dumb.
Mhm.
I wanted to,
It's like
I
what we
wanted
say
to shake
about
his stupid
directors.
head off. I want to take his head off and throw it and say, come on. Yeah, same thing with directors. At least they
Like,
did announce
Well,
them.
They did it.
Jason, I couldn't decide between 6 or 9 episodes. Know what I'm saying?
Nah, I see what you did there, Dave.
couldn't
I know
decide.
what you did, Dave. You're crazy, man. But
You know it.
yeah, but it's yeah. I mean, always assume that they're filming an hour-long thing that will be edited down to 45 minutes, and some of them get shorter than that. It's just the
They
way
do it for
that
films.
goes.
Like, do you remember when JJ was doing like Truss? Like,
Mhm.
you have to like tell like when you put up like the give them like a rough ballpark of how long the movie's going to be,
Yeah,
so they can like
and you go with
set the
go with the max runtime at that
you go
point.
with the max, yeah. So like at
Yeah.
that point, like JJ, I think he had said like there was 2 hours 45, right? And like everybody was like so excited because it was like a long Star Wars movie,
Yeah.
and it got trimmed down to like his usual size of a movie, which is like what 220. Like
Even then, I was fighting that. I was just like, no, that isn't true. It's like I already had like a runtime, and I'm like, that's not even the
yeah,
runtime. That was
yeah,
like the first cut, not the assembly cut, but like the
hmm
first cut of the film. It was, yeah. It's really weird. It's just weird dealing with the fan stuff because like you want to. I don't know. I just shouldn't care. I should just be like, let the dummies believe whatever they want.
it's why
But
I
I'm
don't
always,
interact with any of it. Like I don't interact with
yeah,
anybody outside of like you guys, because like I said, like on my podcast, I only do things with friends. Like
yeah,
I stay off of like my own social media because I don't want to interact with like a lot of the dumb stuff.
yeah.
Like
You're smart. That's the way to be.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
you almost. I mean, you almost never. You can. I don't think on the internet you could correct somebody and then they go, thanks. Now I
no,
know.
no,
No one's
you
half the
tell me
battle.
everything.
Well,
Like
Jason,
you,
I managed to pull that one off in our own comments where a guy was like, "Rod's full of shit."
Yeah, you are.
Then, well, actually, he corrected himself. Anyway, actually, I watched the episode and I agree with him.
Yeah.
It's like,
mm,
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
good job, bud.
He
like
just like solved the thing. Yeah,
like
it
Jason will
happens.
come to me and be like, "Hey, did you see what people are talking about on Twitter today? It's this and this and this. Like it might be some stupid drama thing or people misinterpreted something." I have no fucking clue what he's on about. He just has to explain it to me. I'm like, okay, cool, yeah, that's just something stupid I missed today.
Yeah,
Like it's like I don't know. I just stick to like facts essentially and credible people. Like
yeah,
I don't really interact with anything stupid.
yeah. And like yeah, at the end of the day, like you know, Disney isn't using the viewership necessarily to be like, oh, this needs to this shows Mando's dead or Mando's everything. It's about subs for them. It's about retaining subs, and as long as they like retain with like the core shows, I think the
Mhm.
core shows of the core Marvel shows and the core Star Wars shows, I think they'll always be fine. It would be
Yeah, I
when
mean, if they're gonna
Disney's
go off
losing
about minutes
subscribers.
watched, if they're gonna be like minutes watched means something, it doesn't come close to Stranger Things or Succession or
Mhm.
fucking this other stuff because they don't have the same numbers base as every other site. So it's like,
Yeah,
how well is this all paying off for the Disney Plus venture as a whole? Is basically it.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like yeah, how much does Disney Plus bringing in, and how much is it costing to make the content, and the risk versus reward
They,
in that scenario.
they could stop with these Pinocchio sequels and Peter Pan prequels, and I
That
mean,
Pan one was fucking dreadful.
Yeah, you were a bit shaken about the director a little bit, huh? You were a little less enthused. Is that fair
Yes,
to
because
say?
he's like the work he did on the Green Knight's fantastic, of course, but like
Yeah,
the direction in this movie, like the movie itself isn't good, but he like wrote it and he directed it, and the biggest problem is the fucking Peter Pan kid. He is awful. Even the way he just turns his body, like I was like, oh my god, he's a robot. Like he's not a real kid, And
right.
but like he didn't direct the action well. Like you can tell it's low budget, but again, as the guy who has like, experience with like movies with small budgets, and you think he'd get the best out of that, and he doesn't. And it was the action, if you want to call it that they had was not
Hmm.
good. Like
Yeah,
the performances he got out of the actors, like most of them, wasn't good. Jude Law is fantastic. Jude Law is Jude Law. He's
sure.
going to commit, you know.
He's a
Um,
professional. Yeah.
yeah, but as it was not good. It was really really bad. and he did Pete's Dragon as well, which wasn't good.
No,
So
Lowry's non-Disney stuff I love, or am
mhm,
very fascinated by at least, and then his
yeah,
Disney stuff I don't like, and then he's doing the episode of Skeleton Crew, and I'm like, does that count as Disney or not? Where does this fall? That's what we'll have to see. But thankfully, like you said, like the kid was not, it wasn't directing the kid well. The kid wasn't a good fit for the film and was the lead and stuff like that. Thankfully, he's not the one casting Skeleton Crew, so hopefully that helps.
yeah. He's also not the showrunner, which
Yeah,
obviously has the most power on that. So it's either John Watts or Christopher Ford. That is, it might be both of them. We don't know at
yeah.
this point, but um,
I
yeah,
think
I
it's
load
both
them.
of them. I get
Yeah, I
I
won't be
have
surprised.
the distinct impression it's both of them, but
Yeah, yeah, they were both there like a whole heck of a lot of time.
yeah.
It seems from
Well,
conversation. Mm,
I stand by my critique of that trailer when we did it. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what anyone's saying about it, but I'm just looking technically at the way this thing is shot, and it's confusing to me on all sorts of levels.
oh, like
Compositionally, just very strange decisions. And it just
yeah,
reeks of like there's a certain style over there at Disney films, right? Like the Pinocchio movies and the fucking Dumbo film that Tim Burton did, and even these live action Disney stuff. Like I that I just they're all consistently like generic in the way that what it reminds me of, man. It just reminds me of when they were doing those direct to DVD Lion King sequels and Bambi sequels and Cinderella sequels and Aladdin sequels. Remember
It's
all that shit from the
Jackbox.
early 2000s, and you're like,
Yeah.
look, it's animated and it's a sequel. Like, yeah, but it's not. It's not like it's not even done at the level of the Goofy movie where they put 18 million in it. They put 3 million into it
And
or
I hear it
2
has a great
million into it.
soundtrack. That Goofy movie. People talk about that soundtrack.
Yeah, it feels like a lot like that. So it's like I don't care what celebrity voice you attach to that project, or we got Robin Williams back for Aladdin 4 going broke. Like like I mean,
Yeah.
like who cares, dude? And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
what a waste of his talent is what I think we said when we saw the trailer. I'm like, this is just a waste of this dude. And look, he may be all into it and he's doing it and and he's getting the project done and he's making good relationships with the studio, but like what are you supposed to do with that at the end of the day? Like that project, unless Disney's gonna keep giving you more, what are they gonna give you, a fucking High School Musical to reboot next? Like I don't know. I mean, I don't think the Wendy project leads you to a Star Wars film. If they want you for a Star Wars film, they just get you for a Star Wars film. Like so like that sort of thing is either a paycheck or I don't know, man. It's like the fuck,
I
go
think
go get the A24 Oscar win or nomination. That'll fucking open more doors
he
than this bullshit,
he does like again. He wrote this movie, like obviously it's an adaptation, right? But he's added his own spin on it, and like some of the messaging in the movie is different from like what the Disney like animated Peter Pan movie is. Like the final like sequence, the final fight and everything, like it's different. Like he's changed a lot of stuff. So one of the things in the movie is that Captain Hook was a lost boy. He was a child, and he's best friends with Peter, and he abandons him and lives in Neverland and grows up, and then that's how they get a hate for each other. Like I think that's why he was passionate about this project, is because he could have his own spin on it, but
Yeah.
none of it came out well. Like I don't know
Yeah,
how
but
involved he
it's
was in.
fucking Peter Pan. Like
Hmm.
he literally can do that shit anywhere. You can do the A24 Peter Pan.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It's not a fucking story Disney owns. They own the animation, they own that stuff, but who cares about those relations? You can do any Peter Pan thing you fucking want to do anywhere. On a low budget, especially if you're like, oh, low budget Peter Pan, I could go make that. He could make the Green Knight version of fucking Peter Pan,
Yeah.
and I guarantee you,
I'm
people will be more interested in seeing that shit than like
I'm
what they
guessing
came up with.
Disney's Peter Pan pays the bills and A24's doesn't. In the big picture.
Yeah, 100%, like a
That's-
paycheck. That's why I said
that's
like you
probably
got bills
what
to
it is.
pay, and
Yeah.
you take on the projects, you make good relationships, blah 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 blah. But like, they're gonna turn on you if your project didn't move the needle. No matter how well they liked you, if they put it up on their service and their whole thing is moving the needle, getting subs or getting clout, and they didn't do any of those fucking things, then they're gonna turn on you anyway. Like,
And he's
don't
had
know.
that with both of his projects that he's done for Disney at this point. Like Pete's Dragon, like didn't do well, and this hasn't for the streaming service.
Yeah.
You know, like so.
Yeah, Pete's Dragon's
And
awful.
yeah, and you know when this was in development and in production, like it was around the similar time as the Haunted Mansion, and Disney saw both cuts and were like, "Yeah, Haunted Mansion, you're very good. We believe in you. You're being up to theatrical." Hannah Wendy, now you stay on the Disney streaming service. You know, and when you watch it, you can see why it was just dumped on streaming.
Yeah.
Like this.
Here's the
would have
problem
been
with that
colossal
mentality,
failure.
though. People then associate your streaming service with a place you dump projects. Unlike when you go, oh, I'm going to get HBO. That's going to get me the number one rated fucking show coming out this year, probably. I'm going to get a Last of Us. I'm going to get a fucking Game of Thrones. I'm going to get some fucking award-winning fucking thing. You're then branding your streaming service as a place where we dump content.
But you know what? You know what though? I think that the whole industry has had a real big problem in the sense that they've been trying to pretend that they are making movies, and then that's how we get to this writer's strike. That's how we get to all this, and I think that we're moving towards shit streaming, and that putting money back into movies. I think that's what's actually might be happening.
Yeah,
I'm not saying
I'm
like
with you.
it's not what I want, but I think that's, and so I think that like everything is going to start to feel dumped on those streaming services like moving forward. I don't trust that Zaslav guy at all, especially.
No, well,
those-
even. Oh, go on, Rob.
Those streaming services cost $1 billion a month to keep going, though, in bandwidth. So it being a place that it needs to generate movie money to keep it going. So like if Netflix had abandoned their Stranger Things philosophies or their fucking House of Cards philosophies, all that stuff, and just would try to go full Joe Rogan stand-up comedy, dump whatever foreign market shows that we can get a hold of for dirt cheap and just flood the thing with content because we just care about, then they never would have made enough money to keep that whole streaming side going, you know? It just would have collapsed in on itself. And that's what's going to continue to happen. Like, you have to push award-winning content on those services or it will completely fold in overnight. Like, so at some point, it'll just poof.
Well, that's where Disney has a weird thing though. They can't model themselves. Disney can't do Succession, like according to their own parameters that they've set up in the United States, where we can't see a fucking titty. You know what I mean? Oh God, if we see a titty, there's a titty on Disney Plus. The
Obviously,
service is
it's on
done.
Disney Plus quite often.
Yeah, and he sees it. He sees like yeah, you have like crazy shit on your Disney Plus compared to us, and like. So like our Disney Plus is like this fucking infantilized, idiotic version where it's like for adult children, Disney adults or some fucking stupid shit like that. So but
Disney Plus
like they can't model themselves after anybody else. They can't go like they're doing this, so we're gonna. They can't do Eastbound and Down and Game of Thrones.
Yeah, they're unwilling to, and this has been my whole. This has been. I thought when Iger when they bought the Fox stuff, right? Said that shit, all that IP was supposed to go for the streaming service. We have a streaming service. We have to put content on there, and this is evergreen stuff. People watch evergreen material more than new content. So I'm like, oh fuck, that means Herman's Head to Family Guy to all that stuff will be up on there, right? Like none of it's on there. None of it went there because all of a sudden, somewhere internally, they were like, we can't have the diehards on the Disney Plus because the little children will be corrupted by the diehards. Blah, 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 blah.
I know.
You know, and it's
just
like
watch your fucking kids. Easy. Sorry.
Yeah, like it's the fucking so they're doing it to themselves. I mean, at the end of the day, this fucking shit tanks and folds in on itself. You know, I mean, I feel bad people lose their jobs.
I know Disney, Rob. I know them. You know what it fucking is, dude? It's the fucking mommy bloggers. They're like, they're so fucking afraid of the mommy bloggers. Like, you have no idea.
Well,
I've seen Disney PR go, oh my God, they're coming. Okay, and they like freak the fuck out. You know what? Fuck the mommy bloggers. They're fucking idiots. If you just, all you gotta do is just don't play the mommy blogger game, and then what they say
T-shirt
won't matter.
industry.
Done.
The T-shirt industry has a word for that, has a terminology for that. They're called Walmart moms. Like, so when you're like, we can't sell Star Wars with blasters on the shirt because that's promoting guns. But
Yeah.
right across the aisle is Call of Duty, and their little kids running around with Call of Duty. You're
Yeah.
like, why? Well, because Walmart moms will complain about what's on the T-shirt. I'm like, but they're buying their kid the fucking Call of Duty, like right there. All right. You know, and then the internet goes, why did they paint out woke Disney painted out Han Solo's blaster? You know, blah, 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 this is ridiculous. They're trying to change Star Wars. This is going to be Star Wokes. I mean, this is how all this shit happens. I mean, seriously, like, and it's nothing new, man. Like, I've been dealing with that since 2005-ish. You know, like,
no, you can literally empower stupidity by acknowledging it and then operating around it. And once you do that, now it has some kind of weird power over the whole thing.
And now you have Walmart dads, or I call them Target dads. They like to go through the aisles, and if there's a rainbow on the shirt, knock over the kids' fucking displays, right? Walmart moms and Target dads, dude. This is the bullshit we're living in.
Look, sometimes, you go in there and you just destroy a Bud Light display.
That's why
But
the Toxic Avenger has a mop. You
Idiots.
can't get mad at that, right? He's got a mop.
Yeah, but we end up in this place where they kind of like almost have, by their own rules, have to like either do the Mandalorian or Peter Pan. You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, nobody wants to fucking watch Peter Pan.
Right.
Nobody goes to see any of the Peter Pan releases. Hook was probably the best attempt at a fucking Peter Pan thing we're ever gonna get. And for Spielberg, it could have been better.
In my opinion, all these remakes should just be CGI fucking remasters with extended like visual footage. If they could break out scenes and get more creative with fight sequences and dynamics. And so if you're like, we want to remake Peter Pan, but we're going to give it the same CGI treatment that we're giving the latest Pixar films or the Mario movie, but we're going to increase. So this way, look, it's a cheap cash grab, but at least it's going to look good forever. These fucking live actions ones don't look good now, and they're going to look fucking phenomenally bad 10 years from now. Like animation lasts forever. That's why you could still use clips from how many 50s films? You can't put bed knobs and broomsticks in front of someone and go, that looks fun, but you can put Peter Pan the animated film and it lasts. So like,
I still like Gumby, dude.
It's claymation.
I know. I still like it. I'm saying,
yeah,
if you make it look
claymation holds
interesting,
up.
Claymation
looks better when it's kind of bad, by the way. Like,
and bed knobs and broomsticks doesn't look like amazing, but it's
okay. How
so
about this?
weird
The
that
kid with
it's
electric shoes and the DC dog with the fucking all those stupid live action Disney films. You're not watching that shit.
Yeah, I'm not watching it.
But I do think we're in a position now that with streaming that like it's changing, like it's evolving, whether it's for a good thing or a bad thing. But like you look at like HBO, right? You look at what they're doing now with turning into Max, right? Which whatever. But Zaslav, he was like, right, yeah, we're only gonna make movies for HBO Max that are under like $30 million. I think he initially said, because he was like, for like for profit and for investment, like they got to be theatrical. They got to, like, you look at Evil Dead Rise, that was made for HBO Max for $15 million. It's like come out, it's done really well. It's crossed 80 million. It's looking to do around 150 to 170 worldwide. Like that's massive profit. Like, and he has now said at his latest thing, he's like, yeah, we're not making movies for streaming services anymore. We're not making movies for Max anymore. Like that we only make movies for theatrical, whether it's like lower budget like Evil Dead Rise, or whether it's something big like The Flash or something, right? And Bob Iger recently in like one of his shareholder meetings gave like props and respect to Zaslav and kind of said the same thing. Like he's cutting back on all the like all the stuff for Disney Plus, right? Like they're trying to save like billions a year, So that's why shit like Willow isn't going to exist anymore and wherever. And I think these crappy like Disney like live action remake things like Pinocchio and Peter Pan and Wendy, which goes straight to Disney Plus, they don't exist anymore and they won't exist. Mm-hmm. Like he wants to retain the subscribers, which is probably brought in like majorly by the Marvel and Star Wars projects on there. But at the same time, like for you guys, like I feel bad for like you guys pay the same amount of money that I do for Disney Plus, and like I essentially have two services in mind, which is Disney Plus and Hulu.
He's basically getting Hulu.
Yeah, it's all in one. But like Disney Plus over there, like he wouldn't retain me as a subscriber. Like if I was like US based, I would be signed up to something more like HBO Max or or like Paramount or whatever, because I'm not paying just to watch. Like the Mandalorian's gone now. Like we don't have like content till June 21st. Like what interests me on Disney Plus, like on your Disney Plus, until Secret Invasion. Like I would just subscribe and resubscribe for the Marvel and Star Wars shows.
Yeah.
In the months in between, I wouldn't be there. Like, and he wants to retain that, but that's why he's gonna, I don't know, I assume invest more into that sort of content, sprinkle it out more. But I think we are going away from the crap like Pan and Wendy and Pinocchio and wherever other stupid shit they put on it recently. But you know, it's gonna be more quality over quantity. It seems with Disney.
I think the things they should be doing, if they're not doing fictionalized content, is the stuff they did with like the in-depth Imagineering documentary and the ILM documentary stuff. You know, like they should be doing in-depth making of Andor's, in-depth making of Mando season 1, not this galaxy bullshit where it's a fluff piece for like an hour. But I mean, like the Cinefex version. You know, go hire, you know, the cats that used to make those documentaries, you know, on the Lord of the Rings or whatever, and then, but because they'd have to go backwards now, but go backwards now, and you know, let us see the vantage point. Let us see from Jon Favreau's and Dave Filoni's vantage point when they were looking up at Jason and his kids. You know, like he's like they have to blur Jason out and shit, so he's not.
Throw him the GoPro footage of me getting chased by Buggy Man. You know.
You know, you're just out there with like a hat with like the brush on it, you know, you got like bushes and shit glued to the top. There's no bushes out in the field, by the way. It's just prepared the wrong foliage. Do you wear a hat with Mickey ears so you blend in, or they think you're one of them? Like, but I mean that sort of content.
Kind of baseball camp, unfortunately, I didn't think that far
like
ahead.
if they'd go and do like a good 4-hour documentary series or 6-part documentary series on just the making of Little Mermaid, the animated series back then, get all the animators in, show all the stuff, show, you know, like that kind of content helps keep other people. Then they watch the movie too, you know, and if it prepared you for a remake, an animated remake that was going into summers, you know, theaters in the summer, that's the kind of stuff where you like, you're kind of making a promotional thing, but you're also making like documentary stuff, and Disney has more of an advantage there than anywhere else because they've saved all their archival stuff from back in the day. You know, they have all that. A lot of studios don't have that access. But fucking just like live action remakes, it's fucking as dumb as Cinderella too. Who the fuck wants a time traveling Cinderella?
Little Mermaid is tracking really, really well on the pre-sales right now. So it's
oh yeah, it'll probably make $1 billion. But I'm gonna tell you, like, but if you, just like Aladdin made like a fucking $1 billion, but 3 years later you don't remember the live action Aladdin. You remember the animated
cultural
one.
Impact, like at all.
Yeah, and you're not gonna buy the fucking Will Smith version of that genie 4 years from now from the Disney store. You're gonna buy the fucking animated version. So I'm thinking,
so you're saying this tattoo is a bad idea?
Huh? Only if you get it on your back, your tramp stamp.
I think Disney, like Disney is sort of creatively bankrupt at the moment. Like they announced that they're going to do a live action remake of Moana like within the next year. Like that movie isn't even 10 years old. Like that's fucking ridiculous.
It's horrible.
And then when you look at like animation, like Disney used to be like the trendsetters, and now these days you got like Spider-Verse, that's, you know, fantastic look at. You got Puss in Boots, like you got all these, like, you know, even with the Mario movie, like Disney aren't putting like their best foot forward anymore. They're not, you know, spearheading.
I find Disney to be very similar to Blizzard. And in my interactions with Blizzard, the feedback I'd always get from them was, well, this is how Blizzard does it. And I'm like, what does that mean? This isn't what Blizzard would do. I'm like, which Blizzard? Nintendo... Like the one that made Diablo 3 or the one that made Diablo 2? Like, those are two different Blizzards. Like you know, but sometimes when you have a business that's been around so long, they're like, well, this is how we do it. Which version are you? There's 100 versions. The ones that made Black Cauldron or the Disney that made Rescue Is Down Under. Two different Disneys, man. Not quite the same fucking thing, you know? So, but they get their heads so far up their own asses, truly, that they're unable to innovate. If you can really see this, if you go watch that documentary, The Sweatbox, because that's like at it's Disney declining, Disney Animation declining internally, not from a talent standpoint. I'm talking about from a whatever that fuck, from a leadership standpoint. And you can see the people in charge there at the time. saying, well, this is how we've always done it, and this is how we always go through it. I'm like, you weren't in that room going through that. That was the other 3 people who were in charge, and they left. Like, this is just them saying, this is how we do things, and we just throw away whole fucking films and remake the whole new movie in 12 months and drive all our animators fucking batshit crazy, and then end up laying everyone off when this movie fucking comes out and doesn't do as well as we wanted to, because we didn't even know what the fuck, we didn't know how to market a comedic fucking Disney film, you know. We don't even make comedies. Like, they even go, we don't even make comedy. This is totally different for us. Like it's a miracle that Emperor's New Groove is fucking good, but like, everyone making it didn't feel that way. You know what I mean? Like, they were just doing the best they could with what they had, and then going along with this leadership, this failed leadership state that thinks that if they just keep winging it, that they're Disney, they'll figure a way out. And I feel that, Jason, that's when I feel that from Lucasfilm sometimes. I'm like, I feel that, well, we're Lucasfilm, we'll always come out on top. No, you won't. No, you won't. I mean, no, you'll, I mean, it doesn't mean Star Wars will go away. It just means that, man, I could go through it could be another 15, I could be 65 years old by the time they figure shit out. And like, come on, guys. Like, come on. Like, you gotta fucking stop with, we can't do this because we're this, or we can only do this because we're this. Like, Lucasfilm wasn't this now in 1976, you know, or 1981, or 1982, or 1994. Those are 3 or 4 completely different Lucasfilms. It constantly evolves. You need to bring in people that understand what is fucking cool, that have a sense of fucking, this shit is cool, you know, this is dope, even if it's not your thing personally. And I feel like that's what Disney and Lucasfilm and them are missing out more than they're setting the standard. I mean, the Mario film, dude, you could say, oh, it's simplistic. They said the same shit about Star Wars when that shit came out in 77. I know, because Paul Hirsch was reading the Pauline Kael fucking interviews in his audiobook, you know? And I'm like, that sounds like the reviews for Mario. And then look what Mario did, right? And look, if it were live action Mario and they did the same numbers, I'd say it doesn't have the longevity, but because it's animated, that those visuals will last. So
yeah, and you look at what like Disney is currently, and it is just IP they've acquired, whether it's Star Wars or Marvel or like Avatar now, like, and it's remakes, live action remakes of beloved Disney like classics. Like, they're not even waiting 10 years for the Moana one, and it's sequels to things that don't need sequels. Like, they announced Toy Story 5, like, and all this other shit. Like, they feel like they're creatively bankrupt now, like, and that's so disappointing. Like, don't get me wrong, I love, like, you know, Star Wars, I love Marvel, and, you know, some of the history of Disney. And the Star Wars stuff that's coming up, like, does get me excited, whether it's the Skeleton Crew, the Acolyte, or Andor. But as a whole, as a company, and the position they're in, at least right now, it's not positive, and they're not keeping up, it seems, with the industry in terms of creativity. Like,
there's a giant groupthink mentality, Bestman, in LA. Like, and I've been there so many times. I've been to like these sketch jams at artists' homes, world famous artists, and they'll have ILM artists and Disney animators and all these people get together to draw, and you just start to hear like that group think, you know, this is, everyone agrees this is the great thing, 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 and then you're like, but did you see this other thing? Nah, I don't watch all that. But they all like watch the same stuff and read the same stuff and agree with the same stuff. And that's why you get a lot of the same stuff. And so that's when I told you, like, I don't have a problem with someone being inspired by Hayao Miyazaki. I'm inspired by Hayao Miyazaki. But Hayao Miyazaki's fucking personally drawing all his story. There's no script to his films. He draws the whole fucking film in storyboards. And they can't animate until he has storyboards done. And he's not doing the whole storyboards and then testing that with an audience. You know what I mean? And then adjusting and micro marketing. Well, so he just goes, it's done.
Star Wars doesn't do that. Another for the record, though.
But Lucas fucking he screen tests his films for. He used to back in the day.
He did like 2 movies. They did very very minor screen tests in terms of screen tests.
There's a screen test then.
Look, there's an industry standard for screen test, and what they were doing with the Star Wars movies wasn't the same thing.
But the quote Paul gave was when they did the big screening for the Fox execs with the full audience, he had Marsha there because he wanted to be able to make changes to the film, and he was going to have her come back on to make those changes. And Paul's like, why? I thought I was the only guy. But then after the film went so well, Lucas said, well, I guess we don't have to make changes. But he was willing to make editorial changes even on that first film based on a screening, you know?
Like when everybody laughs at Han saying, I know, so I love you. Like that was like a San Francisco screening. You know what I mean? And same thing with Return of the Jedi. They did one with Return of the Jedi. That's when they cut the opening because it was redundant. But what I was trying to get to,
there
hasn't been a tested thing by Disney for Star Wars ever. Is my point.
But my point with the being inspired by Miyazaki thing is they get inspired by the end result, but they don't understand how it got there. They don't understand the person that made it. Yeah. They don't understand the intention that it's coming from. They don't understand all the subtextual things or the life experiences of one person that goes
Nirvana.
They don't understand all that. They just get the surface level shit. This is why you end up with something like Resistance. They go, this is like Studio Ghibli. I'm like, no, it's not. That's you doing a CGI cell shaded like exterior shell of something in the way that a Fortnite skin is. Is Fortnite Star Wars because you have a Fortnite skin of Star Wars in Fortnite? No, it's Fortnite.
Yeah.
Like it's not the same thing. They're missing all the other stuff, but that's how you end up with that. What we would call creatively bankrupt things, because there's nothing underneath coming from, you know, the individual creators, you know? So that's a real problem. And I understand hundreds of millions of dollars are behind projects, but you know, when you there has to be some balance between it's a commercial product, we got to make money, and hey, we can push the envelope forward. And Spider-Verse proves that there's room for that, you know? There really does. I mean, that you can push it forward. Now, maybe the next film will be more of the same. Hard to do sequels, you know? Like I felt Lego Batman was a genius film, but no one saw it. And even if I would not want them to make a sequel to Lego Batman, I feel like it'd be too much. You know what I mean? Like
I probably won't watch, you know, whatever Book of Boba Fett 15 times throughout the rest of my life. But I will probably have watched Andor 15 times before I die. You know what I mean?
And when you have a streaming service, you should be.
People are saying
I can hear you.
Working. Okay.
Yeah, you guys probably got to just get a little closer. But when you have a Disney Plus streaming service that's going to be up for 20 years, the long-term projects is what you should be thinking of. You should be thinking about, especially when you know that the thing that streams more often are shows that are 20 years old. It's comfort food. So when it's new, you're going to get these numbers, but what you're really looking forward to is, hey, people are going to rewatch Stranger Things seasons 1 through 4. You know what I mean? Forever, right? Like you want that to keep going because that's actually going to keep people subscribed and engaged versus like Bespin, I'm going to come in, watch it, and get out. Not, you know.
But it is easier said than done to be like, just make the best content ever. Like, I mean, they could try.
Of course, that's high. It's impossible to do that. Yeah. But you know you're on a bad footing when you're like, hey, Toy Story 5 is the way forward. Toy Story 4 was a completely forgettable film, bro. I tried, man. I was like, look, it felt like an epilogue to something that was already resolved, you know? Like,
no. If it wasn't for Star Wars and Marvel, Disney would have completely skipped My Children entirely. My Children don't care about anything that Disney does at all. They don't watch any of it. It's a Marvel and the Star Wars stuff that they will watch. There's like this, so the stuff that's coming out, and I don't really see Disney stuff like that shit with the kids at my kids' school. You know what I mean? So I kind of think that in a weird way they are like, you do see the Star Wars and the Marvel stuff though. So it's like that whole like we take fairy tales and we repackage them for a new generation. That shit's like, I think it's kind of done. And right now they're just like cashing the last paychecks of it off of stuff like Little Mermaid and shit, you know, because it doesn't really make I don't know. I mean, I'm probably wrong, but I just don't see how any of that stuff ends up standing the test of time. Like you said, the fucking cartoons, you always go back to the cartoon. So just re-release the fucking
anime
cartoon.
will hold up. My Hero Academia is going to look just as good 10 years from now as it did when it came out. But if you make a My Hero Academia live action, it's not going to age as well.
With
I know
Joby
it's
Harold.
not going to. It's not going to be.
They
good,
are.
dude.
I
I fucking hate Joby Harold.
There hasn't been
They're
anything
gonna
on
fucking
it.
ruin One Piece as well. They're gonna ruin One Piece.
Yeah.
You don't want that live action. You want it.
No.
Did you guys see the CGI Lupin film? Like it was fucking brilliant. It's from the guys that. Did you ever see the Dragon Quest, like your story on Netflix?
I liked Gantz is the only thing that's changed medium to a CGI film that I liked.
The CGI stuff is good, man, because it's animated, it's stylized, it's super stylized.
Yeah.
They found the right balance, you know. So like if they did a remake of Lilo and Stitch and it looked like Chris Sanders' art and they just extended sequences and gave it more money and polish, you could package the 2D and the 3D together. The live action, for the love of fucking Christ, I just don't want to see a live action Stitch. It's gonna be so fucking horrible, dude. Like, I don't care.
They're gonna massacre fucking Stitch. They gotta massacre him.
Meanwhile, I could show you a sketch of Stitch from, the late 90s before it was, and it still this fucking sketch looks good. It's so weird to me, this mentality, man. No, I don't want a live action Full Metal Alchemist. I don't fuck all these. They made one in Japan. It's fucking horrible.
I think he's joking because he said Dragon Ball Z.
But they made a live action
Yeah.
Full Metal Alchemist in Japan. It's not. It's stupid, man. It looks like
Dragon Ball Evolution
looks like those.
is dreadful.
You know those Bat in the Sun videos, right? Where it's like Wolverine fights Wonder Woman. And you're like, yeah, it is clever, man. It's like an extended version of epic rap battles. You may as well just have them rapping too. Yeah.
Yeah, the idea that things transcend mediums and somehow graduating, like with anime, I don't think it's ever a good idea.
I get it. But the people in charge, they're like these college. I'm college educated, but they're these Harvard Ivy League school people who are like, oh, I remember a Batman Begins. I'm cool. I saw The Dark Knight. I get it. I'm hip. I'm like, you fucking never even. You're not. You don't. So you peruse the aisles at Toys R Us once. You're not. You don't understand the mentality here. I'm not saying that you technically have to, but because they don't have a real appreciation for it. It's just a stepping stone to make the name that, hey, I'm the one that got the live action Aladdin made, or I'm the one that got the live action and it made $1 billion, and you're using that to become the next CEO or maybe a governor or some ship somewhere. It's not the same thing. Say what you want about Katzenberg, dude's a fucking crazy dude, and he's certainly anti-union, but the dude was intent on making or producing animation, right? You can at least appreciate he wasn't trying to use it as a stepping stone to become a GM of the Los Angeles Clippers or some shit like that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's. I mean, I think Disney sucks. Always will suck. And my only hope is that people who use them to get their art made, so to speak, are able to use that system to get stuff made. And otherwise, it's just gonna be.
I would love a CGI remake of the movie Atlantis, where you actually tweak that whole fucking ending.
You were gonna say a CGI remake of Atlanta. I was like, what?
No, I would like that. Can we take ultra realistically gritty shows like The Wire and do CGI remakes? That's what Netflix should be doing. Adults who like adult animation.
I want Donald Glover to sell Florida Man to them though, and do Florida Man, all the Florida Man's adventures in one series. I would watch that for sure. But, all right, I gotta go and pick up the old
3-hour show, guys. We're not doing a show tomorrow.
You don't have to. If there's news, I'm gonna do it, but you don't have to, Rob. If you're burnt, But yeah, I didn't expect to go 3
I thought it was a good
but-
show, though. Yeah, I thought we had a good discussion.
Just one more thing. I'll shut up before the end of the show.
There goes again. He did that thing. No.
Who here is gonna go see Guardians this week?
I'm seeing it.
Who here?
I'm seeing it
I'm
tomorrow.
gonna see it.
I'm seeing it tomorrow.
See it tomorrow.
Taking my dad for his birthday. Yeah.
Have you seen it, Rob?
Have I seen it?
Are you going to see it?
Thinking about maybe seeing it tomorrow. What time are you going, Jason?
I am going. I think I'm going to the 7:00.
7:00. All right.
Yeah.
I like James Gunn, even when the films aren't my favorite. I like pretty much everything he does. So.
Right.
I'm not gonna watch
Guardians,
Super ever again, but
yeah.
I appreciate that got made.
Yeah, Thursday at 7:10 is when I'm seeing it.
Alright.
So yeah, I'll check it out. Like, I like the movies, the Guardians movies for like what they are. You know what I mean? So I'll see the other one. My dad watching Guardians on my Disney Plus account is pretty much what makes it worth me having Disney Plus for some of these months right now. Like now almost. I'm gonna watch the May 4th content obviously tomorrow. I'm gonna watch Visions tomorrow, and then talk about that. That's what it'll.
You gonna watch the Young Jedi Adventures, Jason?
Oh, dude, it's gonna rip ass. I think is what they say. Rips ass, tears ass. I can't remember what they say.
When someone tells me Star Wars is for 5-year-olds, I go, no, that's for 5-year-olds. Star Wars is something.
that concept, like I said, like fucking Return of the Jedi was for fucking 5-year-olds. What the fuck is that? You know what I mean? Give me a break. Like that shit is just garbage. And like I love watching.
They want that keychain money, Jason.
Lucasfilm people. Hey, you know what? Just gonna drop this right here. They step away. It's like you put a blue fucking teddy bear on Twitter, you asshole. Stupid. But anyways, yeah. And I like the Ewoks for the Ewoks. They are like teddy bears with cowls and spears and shit. You know, that's different. Yeah.
If AI gets really good, and there's nothing we can do to stop it, and it gets really good at doing whatever, we got to get it to do a CGI remake of the Greasy Strangler. I'll watch that, like a Pixar level remake of the Greasy Strangler. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
I'd watch that. Pixar's the Greasy Strangler.
We're all gonna be out of jobs anyway, I suppose.
I need
right?
more grease on my dog.
Whole country's gonna be homeless, but AI will be making things for people who can't afford to do anything with it.
Bespin, have you seen the Greasy Strangler yet?
No.
You gotta watch it, man. You gotta watch it.
You don't.
You do. You do. You gotta watch it. You have to take it. You gotta see it, and then you gotta go on the letterbox and you gotta rate it.
Ignore that.
Mm-hmm. You do. Do it.
It's not worth it.
Do it. It's
It's
totally.
the devil and angel talking to me right now.
It's totally worth it. It's
I'm the devil
avant-garde.
for certain.
It will change your life. But
all
right, yeah. Well, everybody, enjoy your May 4th content. If you're gonna stay up tonight and watch it, or in the morning when you watch it, whatever.
Is that tonight?
Yeah, tomorrow. Tonight is.
I'm on a Star Wars show and I don't even know when it's.
Yeah,
comes out.
yeah. Visions comes out, and then so I'm gonna watch those, and then I'm probably gonna talk about those tomorrow. So if you want to do it, if you got time.
Fuck, it's 3 hours of these things. How many? There's 8. They run what, 10 minutes each? Is it an hour?
It's
a bit longer than 10 minutes, isn't it?
Some of them are like 15 minutes, I think. But, it won't be long. I don't think. But, yeah, I'm gonna watch those and talk about those tomorrow probably. Most of the other content is going to be shit that I don't care about, I'll probably watch it, but I probably won't do a show on Maggie's Rogue One, knockoff or whatever the fuck it is. It's like, so what?
I love Visions. It's just, I wish they'd space them out all at once. It's like,
yeah, it would
like 3 days. 3 days. I'm not saying over weeks, right? Like I'm saying they could do like over a week, every like on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You get the drop. You got the week. Like I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I like when they drop everything all at once. I do. I appreciate that. But on Visions in particular, I wouldn't, if it was a continual, like we just keep producing content and putting it out when it's ready, I would be happy with that. With, like how they did it was the Miyazaki one, right? That was who did no, it wasn't Miyazaki. Who did the
Dust Bunnies?
The Dust Bunnies one, yeah. Yeah. That was nothing. It was like 2 minutes or something like that. But, if they were dropping stuff like that just randomly more consecutively, I wouldn't mind. But,
right.
But it does look interesting. The first season was good. And so I think tonight I'm going to watch the first season just to, why not? I haven't watched it in a while. And then I'm going to
nothing else to do.
Nothing else to do. And then I'm going to go. And then at midnight, I'm probably going to watch them. And then
no one to love. No one to love you.
No kids. No one.
No exercise regimen.
No exercise.
Gonna sit around.
No. I'm a fat guy without tacos.
I don't even shave
At least
anymore.
we've got Fortnite.
no Fortnite account got suspended. I was cheating him. Lost my
No
account.
money because you spent it on
I
Fortnite.
spent it on Fortnite. Just gonna write this country song. No.
All right.
All right,
I'll see y'all
everyone.
tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll see everyone tomorrow.
Sorry.
Thanks for hanging out with us today, Bestman. Thank you for writing the articles and not getting coffee money. Sorry. But yeah, give Bestman a coffee. Give Bestman a coffee if you got it. You know, if you got him, smoke him.
And give me all your crypto. Just send it to me.
Give him.
It's not worth it, but like Pogs, I just like to
And
collect them.
he doesn't know what cryptocurrency is. He means like cryptozoology. He likes articles and he kind of just fun facts shit about
Big
La
feet.
Chupacabra. Anything,
Big
yeah,
feet.
whatever. Platypuses with tails that have spikes on them that we never should see in nature.
Bat
Stuff
boy.
like that. Bat boy.
Bat boy.
Yeah. So crypto. That's what he means. All right, everyone. We'll see everyone tomorrow. Thanks. Bye.
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go. Hey!
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go. Hey!
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go. Hey!
You know you should go.
Come on, let's go.
It's not about spaceships.